Chapter 122-58, Do Not Dishonor the Whites. Chapter 122, Chapter 58, Do Not Dishonor the Whites. The young blue dragon Axi crossed the border between wakefulness and dreaming, stepping onto the mountaintop, and then stood a few paces behind Karon. Like other young giant dragons, Axi was not repulsed by waking dreams. After transitioning through the sleep phase between a young dragon and adolescence, blue dragon Axi continued to develop. Although the physical development speed was not as rapid as during the hatchling stage, the adolescent phase is the last period in a giant dragon's life when they can develop quickly. Once they reach adulthood, a giant dragon's physical growth slows down, shifting toward exploiting their bloodline talents. Most ordinary giant dragons may only awaken one or two magical abilities during the lengthy stage from hatchling to adulthood. However, once reaching adulthood, regardless of the talent level, they can use evil dragon blood to accelerate awakening of corresponding magic, making every adult giant dragon a magic adept. But the innate magic awakened in dragons is quite subjective. For example, dragons with aggressive tendencies often awaken powerful spells capable of significant destruction. In contrast, dragons with relatively calmer dispositions tend to awaken more control-oriented and practical spells. Regardless, the magic awakened in dragons aligns with their nature and is far more fearsome than the same spells cast by other mages. This is one reason dragons sit atop the food chain. Dragons have vulnerable hatchling periods when human adventurers, if numerous enough, can tip over young dragons with clever use of tools and schemes. But dragon growth and the development of strength are disproportionate. At certain critical stages, a dragon's strength suddenly explodes in growth. For instance, dragons in the adult stage, with strong innate talents, can already contend with legends at their peak, possessing the power to destroy kingdoms. Naturally, this is achievable only by dragons with exceptionally outstanding talents. Some adult white dragons remain enslaved by frost giants or pursued and fleeing from human adventurers. In essence, the adult stage is the watershed of dragon strength, where the strong grow stronger, and the weak remain weak. The young blue dragon Axi is, of course, aware of this. Ordinary evil dragons might wish to challenge Karon for the position as master of the dragon clans upon reaching adulthood, but Axi has no such thoughts. During the rapid development phase of adolescence, Axi's body has reached over 14 meters. Blue dragons are not weak like the white and black dragon species. Thus, Axi's body is now also quite formidable, especially the massive, sturdy horn growing between his head and above his nose, which looks particularly intimidating. Yet as Axi stood beside Karon, he felt overshadowed by the red dragon before him, whose wings exceeded the proportions of ordinary giant dragons, appearing broad enough to shelter the blue dragon from a storm. Axi, since when did you learn those human-like ceremonial gestures? Haha. Karon glanced at the tranquil eyes of the young blue dragon and spoke casually. Karon, you are the master of the dragon clans, the supreme ruler of the land of Golden, the king of this earth, deserving of respect and reverence from all, even from dragons. Blue dragon Axi responded calmly. Among dragons, there has always been a distinct hierarchy. In some particularly strict giant dragon families, a lower-ranking dragon showing even a slight lack of respect toward higher-ranking dragons could invoke merciless retribution from them. Even among blue dragons known for gathering together, there is a clear hierarchy within families. Young dragons within the dragon group during the hatchling stage also realized this through blue dragon Axi's presence. At that time, Axi was proud and lofty. Even Karon's flattering could hardly move the demeanor of blue dragon Axi. Red dragon looked at the peaceful eyes of blue dragon Axi, shook his head, clapped the broad shoulder of the blue dragon with his robust dragon claw, and said in a deep voice, "Between dragon groups, don't need to bother about these formalities. Tell me, Axi, why have you come to find me? Centaur warriors have escorted the Jackal Wolfman tribe here, but the tribe's former leader, the one named Yugu, said he wishes to offer the tribe's treasure to the dragons." Ha, I saw something called ambition in the eyes of that Jackal Wolfman. He's different from regular jackal wolfman, he's quite clever, Karon. Blue Dragon Axe's eyes flickered like the waves of the sea, showing interest. Karon nodded, although he had only briefly seen Jackal Wolfman leader Yuga once. For a Jackal Wolfman tribe with a social structure as loose as green-skinned army to coalesce into such a formidable fighting unit with clear division of labor, the Jackal Wolfman Yuga must be extraordinary. Originally, I didn't plan on seizing the wealth of the Jackal Wolfman tribe, but since they offered it to the dragon group, I won't refuse. I'll give him a chance to see how much value his ambition can create for me, hoping his abilities match his ambition. It appears the Dragon Group's treasure vault will be replenished with some fresh novelties. Red Dragon smiled, revealing his long, white fangs. As a superior, he is not deterred by nor seeks to crush the ambition of subordinates, he even hopes that the dragon's beloved possess their own ambitions. Ambition means action, Karon guides the action brought by ambition toward the correct direction. Moreover, Karon is not afraid of betrayal or other small maneuvers. As Red Dragon, he surveys these beloved from a high perch, ensuring he always remains atop the mountain. Then I'll patrol the territory. Blue Dragon Axe spread his wings, preparing to soar. Red Dragon extended his right wing to stop this diligent Blue Dragon somewhat out of place among five-colored evil dragons, smiling, said, Axe, since the beginning of the Dragon Group's agreement, you've been part of the Dragon Group. This Jackal Wolfman's wealth includes a part belonging to you. Go, summon the Dragon Group for me. Today is the Dragon Group's small feast, the Jackal Wolfman's treasures will adorn our nest. The young Blue Dragon Axe looked at the Red Dragon, then nodded, and soared from the mountain top. The blue lightning darted through the steaming hot winds and thick clouds like the wind of freedom. Awoo! The young Blue Dragon flew in the sky, roaring angrily, the sound of the dragon booming like rolling thunder spreading across the vast sky. This is the signal for the Dragon Group assembly long ago, and today, young Blue Dragon Axe summons the Dragon Group. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 123-59, Profit and Loss. Chapter 123, Chapter 59, Profit and Loss. The sunset had already sunk to the farthest reaches of the sky, and the moon had just risen, but the territory at the foot of the Dragon Nest mountain range was never engulfed by darkness. In the distant forest, birds that should have been resting flapped their wings as they flew low, sweeping across each domain of the sky. The beasts that should have returned to their nests treaded softly through the forest, gazing at every inch of space on the land. These creatures were the eyes and voices of the Dragon Group, always with active members guarding the giant dragon's nest. The camps of several monster tribes below the Dragon Nest mountain were enclosed with huge logs and ablaze with fire. The torches and lamps made from special resin in the forest could burn for the first half of the night, then be replaced with new lights by the guarding beloved ones to ensure the dragon's nest was always surrounded by brightness. Even those assassins adept at shadow stealth found it nearly impossible to break through the heavy defenses of the giant dragon's nest and set foot on the peak of the mountain. In the centaur camp, a bonfire feast was held each night. These warrior races, who loved indulgence and combat, seemed to have inexhaustible energy like the giant dragons. Even after a tough battle, these warriors still displayed their wildness. Every corner echoed with the songs of the female centaurs, not melodious but captivating enough, and the fierce roars of the male centaur warriors. Compared to their calm demeanor on the battlefield, it seemed they truly entered the battlefield at that moment. As for the kobolds, night was their active time. These monster-beloved ones, especially fond of making trouble in dark caves, though not accustomed to feasting, left traces everywhere in the forest. After gaining the dragon's protection, the kobold tribe rapidly developed. Now, every valued resource and territory in the giant dragon territory was laden with traps and warning devices set by these kobolds. They were now the giant dragon's capable assistants, though not reflected in combat power. Only the camps of the ogre slaves and green-skinned goblins remained relatively quiet. Though both races were chaotic beings, they did not have enough freedom within the dragon group territory. They needed to prove their value to the giant dragon to gain the dragon's attention and favor. Karon led the dragon group descending from the high mountains, with the intense dragon power spreading. Birds in the forest landed, beasts hibernated, beloved ones held their breath, and complete silence prevailed. The dragon group arrived at the temporary encampment of the Jackal Wolfman tribe, an open space carved under the Centaur tribe's control, where many Jackal Wolfmen, led by Chief Yugu, knelt nervously before the dragon group. Honorable Dragon Group, Supreme Master of the Jackal Wolfman tribe, the Jackal Wolfman leader Yugu knelt down, his head low like that of the most ferocious hyena on the prairie. The dragon-blooded centaur Karon also arrived upon hearing the news and saluted the dragon group. Noble dragon group, my lord Karon. But the giant dragon's gaze was not on the beloved ones before them, they looked towards the treasures piled on the open ground, brought by earth dragons and wagons, belonging to the Jackal Wolfmen. Each dragon's eyes glimmered with bright light, shining like beams even in the brightly lit camp. The evil dragon's greed made these giant dragons eye the Jackal Wolfmen guarding the treasures covetously, bearing sharp claws and teeth. The female red dragon Kleena and the green dragon Antagena stepped forward, using their tails and dragon claws to sweep away the obstructive Jackal Wolfmen. The other dragons followed the red dragon, excitedly eyeing the hoarded loot of the Jackal Wolfmen, appearing restless. Unlike the others, Karon was able to remain calm. He first signaled to the Jackal Wolfman leader Yugu and the centaur Karon to stand, then turned his gaze to the wealth piled like a small mountain on the open ground. The giant dragon's innate talent for appraisal and valuation immediately responded with evaluations. Some statues carved by Jackal Wolfmen or unearthed from the ground, depicting monsters and deities, were crude but had a semblance. On some statues, Karon noticed slight spiritual light, which could only be considered passable and could serve as collectibles for those wandering impoverished giant dragons. The magical ornaments crafted by Jackal Wolfman casters using their magic ability, possessing magic protection capabilities, had some utility, but for the giant dragons, the value of these magic ornaments lay more in the fact that they were crafted from gemstones. There were also some cereal seeds cultivated by the Jackal Wolfman from grass similar to foxtail on the prairie, a quite mature cereal crop seed. Though these were evaluated as having little value by the dragon's instinctual appraisal, Karon deemed them precious enough, altering the dragon's evaluation to classify them as items of high value. This not only indicated that these Jackal Wolfmen had the ability to cultivate grain seeds, providing considerable useful value for the giant dragons. Moreover, this grain crop, similar to millet, can also be cultivated in the dragon group territory. As a domestically bred grain crop, it almost requires no adaptation to changes in water and soil to be planted on land cleared from the forest. There are also some crude armor and weapons. These Jackal Wolfmen were not skilled in smelting and forging, so these weapons and armor were considered tasteless. Their rough techniques made the effectiveness of these weapons and armor limited, but still somewhat better than none. Plus, many Jackal Wolfmen had looted coins from unknown locations, appearing to be ancient treasures, as these coins differed from the current currency design. But these gold coins, silver coins, and copper coins are things that giant dragons like. Even if some coins are covered with rust, these items can quickly regain their luster in the dragon's lair, thanks to the influence from the giant dragon. All treasures near a giant dragon enjoy a long life, like the giant dragon itself. Only without the infusion of dragon power would these treasures and valuables be worn away by time, which is one reason the dragon's treasure vault is coveted. In Karon's inherited memories, in ancient times, there was a legendary mage who used treasures to lure a dragon, signing a pact with a silver dragon to guard the treasure vault, with the mage paying with all the treasures within the treasury. Because the silver dragon was too tempted by the legendary mage's vault, it voluntarily became a partner with the legendary mage, and Karon never knew whether the silver dragon profited or if the legendary mage lost. Only the involved parties would know best. The remainder mostly consisted of strangely shaped, porous pieces of dog-head gold, and some gold ore not yet refined and smelted, along with natural-esque uncut gemstones. Dragon eyes lingered over these items. Each dragon naturally possessed the ability to appraise treasures, and even without this ability, it was evident just from the naked eye the value these things held. Jackal Wolfman leader Yugu also stood beside the dragon, introducing the origin of these items to the dragon. The Jackal Wolfman tribe discovered a fairly large vein at the base of the dragon lizard's nest, which not only contained an ample gold mine but also various accompanying precious ores and gemstones. However, we Jackal Wolfmen do not possess the talent to discern ores, so we only mined a bit of gold. Jackal Wolfman Yugu quietly glanced at the red dragon, whose reaction wasn't as eager and impatient as other giant dragons. I will present this vein to the dragon group as a tribute from the Jackal Wolfman to the giant dragons. Karon nodded. Inform the Dogman Bag of the location of the vein. He will take care of this for the dragon. These unrefined ores shall be sent to the Dogman tribe. They will arrange for future refining and smelting. Then the red dragon turned to look at the dragons, who could no longer hold back, and a faint smile appeared on their thorn-covered cheek. As per the dragon group's initial agreement, these treasures belong to all the giant dragons, and all members have a share. The young female red dragon Kleena let out an excited growl, her long neck lingering over the treasure, continuously sniffing the scent of the treasures. The other dragons also happily crowded around. Even the composed blue dragon Das blinked his large eyes, revealing a look of longing. Karon divided these coins, dog-head gold, and gemstones into several parts. As it was not the scheduled dividend time for the dragon group that year, nearly all the treasure was divided equally. Then the red dragon set aside the largest portion of the gold coin treasure. Rosani, although the Jackal Wolfmen offered their treasure voluntarily, you contributed the most effort, so you deserve the largest share. Roar! The black dragon Rosani let out an excited growl, eagerly stepping forward and encircling his share of the treasure with his slender dragon claws and tail. Karon, step forward. These are the spoils belonging to your centaur. The giant dragons do not forget the dedication and sacrifices of their beloved. This is also what you deserve. Karon set aside a treasure almost equal to that of the black dragon Rosani, indicating for Karon to come forward and receive it. Praise the great giant dragons. Thank you, my lord. The centaur did not refuse or display any false modesty, but knelt respectfully and then motioned for his warriors to carry the spoils back to the tribe. This portion is for you, Kleena. Karon allocated almost equally the remaining treasure to the female red dragon, and Kleena jumped and pounced on her share of the treasure. Oxy, Das, Kamid, Gomat, and Tajena, these are your shares. Karon divided the remaining treasures, and those dragons crowded over, swallowing their treasures into their storage stomachs, as no giant dragon would politely refuse treasure. They are dragons, not Kong Long. Lastly, Karon allocated the largest portion to himself, as this was a rule established at the start of the dragon group's agreement, so even though the dragon group coveted the almost equivalently vast treasure before Karon compared to theirs combined, they remained calm and obedient, as the red dragon was holding its dragon claw, much larger than a sandbag, in a wide-eyed glare. Very well, the Jackal Wolfman's tribute has pleased the dragon group. The red dragon looked down at Jackal Wolfman leader Yugu and said, now I am very pleased. Tell me, what is your request? Perhaps I can grant it, and give you the reward you deserve. Source, webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 124-60, Evil Dragon True Blood. Chapter 124, Chapter 60, Evil Dragon True Blood. Honorable Red Dragon, Supreme Master of the Jackal Wolfman tribe. The Jackal Wolfman leader Yugu, towering at nearly 4 meters, bowed low at the feet of the red dragon like a weak cub, his head lowered, knowing that his thoughts and intentions were difficult to hide from this clever red dragon, so he opted to speak directly. I hope to receive your gift and become a dragon descendant beloved like that centaur. Once I become a dragon descendant beloved, I will surely be stronger than that centaur. I will become the mightiest warrior to carry out the giant dragon's will. I will demonstrate my capabilities to you, ensuring that the honor of the noble giant dragon's blood is not sullied. I yearn to have the favor and honor similar to the centaur warrior. The jackal wolfman leader Yugu slightly raised his head, staring eagerly at the layer of crimson scales covering the full muscles, a distinctive characteristic of the dragon descendant species. Becoming a dragon descendant not only represents possessing greater power but also having extended life, though the increased lifespan varies greatly among individuals. Even the weakest green-skinned goblins and kobolds can gain at least an additional 150-year lifespan, while races with robust physique and bloodline may increase by over 1,000 years merely. The natural lifespan of jackal wolfmen generally ranges from 35 to 40 years, with each jackal wolfman considered adult between 6 to 8 years and entering middle age at 25. Thus, although the jackal wolfman Yugu is at the peak of growth among his kind, far surpassing others, and possesses the power that most jackal wolfmen can never hope to achieve. Yet, unless he transcends the essence of life, he will, like any ordinary jackal wolfman, enter a decline and eventually die, unchangeably. He might be able to survive slightly longer than ordinary jackal wolfmen due to his robust strength and talent, but ultimately, he will not endure in this world. The plight and sorrow of short-lived species lie in their limitations. Even as the jackal wolfman leader Yugu can easily challenge and defeat juvenile five-colored giant dragons, he cannot halt time's relentless march. This is the innate advantage of giant dragons. Although some short-lived races may surpass them initially, it matters little, for the dragon species emphasizes late development. Of course, even the weakest juvenile giant dragon should not be trifled with by typical races. Presently, the jackal wolfman Yugu is already 16 years old, at the peak of adulthood for his kind, and will soon enter a period of decline. Thus, he longs to become like the centaur Karon, extend his peak, and hopes to continue breaking through in the days to come. This craving and ambition were why the jackal wolfman leader Yugu, having defeated Black Dragon Rosani, hesitated to deliver the final blow, partly due to the fear of the dragon group's power, and partly hoping to use the living giant dragon to strengthen himself through true blood. However, despite being smarter than ordinary jackal wolfmen, he does not know that creating a dragon descendant is not so simple. The true blood of each giant dragon is intensely corrosive and poisonous to other species. If he dares to bathe in the black dragon's evil dragon true blood, he would not receive the imagined reinforcement, and instead would suffer from the corrosion and poison of the evil dragon true blood. While he might survive due to his might, it would likely cause him to enter a decline prematurely. Though Black Dragon Rosani is not particularly strong, the nature of evil dragon true blood far surpasses the jackal wolfman's reeking crimson blood. Thus, tales of gaining dragon descendant bloodline and physique through dragon blood, followed by becoming a powerful warrior, only emerge in trivial stories. The moment the jackal wolfman leader Yugu finished speaking, before the mightiest red dragon could react, the dragon group, which had been jubilant with treasures until now, suddenly turned hostile, baring their menacing fangs, growling at the jackal wolfman leader Yugu down on the ground. "You despicable, petty creature, how dare you covet the giant dragon's true blood, I will crush you to death." The female red dragon Kleena swallowed her treasures into her storage stomach, revealing her fangs as she charged forward. The enraged female dragon ignored the fact that this jackal wolfman had just offered her treasures, stepping into the group of kneeling jackal wolfmen, instantly crushing several who dared not react. Then she forcibly knocked the jackal wolfman leader Yugu to the ground. This action exposed the evil dragon nature of these giant dragons, for no matter how much you offer them in a moment, once their interests are threatened, they turn faces instantly. These dragon creatures behave notably differently when facing the dragon group, but regarding the outside world, they forever represent evil blood. If it weren't for Karon still undecided, Kleena would have torn this jackal wolfman into pieces. However, the young dragoness still refused to relent, stepping fiercely on the jackal wolfman Yugu, her thick claws pinning him down. "Let me kill him, this arrogant creature should become shredded meat in my mouth." Black Dragon Rosani's chilling pupils filled with killing intent approached, menacingly grinding his fangs beside the red dragon, a piercing cold enveloping the back of the still confused jackal wolfman. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 125-60, Evil Dragon True Blood, 2. Chapter 125, Chapter 60, Evil Dragon True Blood, 2. Green Dragon Antagina's brilliant emerald eyes were filled with disgust at the Jackal Wolf man's actions and a chilling coldness. She approached Karen's massive body, almost touching the red dragon's scales, as if cuddling up to the red dragon. Karon, hand over this Jackal Wolf man and all the Jackal Wolf men to me. I will use the forest's vines to pierce through these despicable reptiles' bodies and limbs, making them feel the consequences of offending a giant dragon. Let those lovely pets in the forest, poisonous insects, ants, snakes, and scorpions, burrow into their bodies through the wounds made by the vines, gnawing at their flesh and blood until death. Then I will bury these inferior creatures' bodies in the dragon group's orchard to become fertilizer enriching the orchard. Green Dragon Antagina's voice was crisp and sweet, like a maiden's, yet carrying a bone-chilling cruelty. Antagina's nature, with its inherent cruelty, was manifest. Let me freeze them into ice blocks, then place them at the foot of the Dragon Nest mountain range. I will control my powers so that even when frozen, they do not immediately die, but can only watch helplessly as each other's lives gradually fade, repenting in fear. White Dragon Gomot sneered coldly. White dragons particularly enjoy freezing their prey and defeated enemies into ice blocks as trophies, showcasing their immense power. They even like to freeze their food into ice blocks before eating it. During the years when Karon and the dragon group fell to the Gata Empire, countless monsters and humans who came to spy on the giant dragon territory had already been frozen in White Dragon Gomot's lair, with only the creatures favored by the White Dragon displayed outside the lair. So if a white dragon takes an interest in you, don't rush to feel flattered. It might not be because it likes you, but merely because it wants to collect you as a figurine. White Dragon Kamid was typically a dragon of few words. Unlike his brothers, he did not showcase his methods to Karon. Instead, he hovered like a hound around the trembling Jackal Wolf men, his white frosty breath becoming increasingly thick, accidentally frosting over a few Jackal Wolf men. Humph, let me turn them into charred remains with lightning. These foolish reptiles make me grow impatient with every extra moment they live. Blue Dragon Doss's wings lit up with lightning-like patterns, with tiny lightning bolts restlessly dancing on his horn, as if they might lose control at any moment. Blue Dragon Axi showed a similar reaction to Doss. However, Axi had already spread his wings, clearly intending not to let a single Jackal Wolf man who dared to flee escape. Ox's gaze had already swept over the Jackal Wolf men lingering at the edge of the camp, observing their every move, with the blue dragon's speed being unparalleled among the five-color dragons. Blue dragons, mastering the lightning and storm in the sky, have flying speeds unmatched even by golden dragons. However, because the dragon group includes a freak dragon like Karon, the blue dragon's advantage hasn't been showcased. Therefore, the blue dragon was confident in not allowing any Jackal Wolf man to escape. Karon understood why these giant dragons would have such extreme reactions and even cultivate a murderous intent toward the entire tribe of Jackal Wolf men due to a few simple words from the Jackal Wolf man leader Yugu. Even the cruel five-color dragons generally wouldn't slaughter an entire tribe just for feeling merely offended. This was because of the method of creating dragon descendants. Each Gant dragon's heritage contains the knowledge of creating powerful dragon descendant beloveds. However, in reality, the appearance of dragon descendants in the world is rare because most giant dragons typically do not create dragon descendants. Each dragon descendant's appearance, apart from those born from other dragon descendants or due to some unrepeatable accidental reasons, requires a giant dragon's evil dragon true blood for creation. This evil dragon true blood is not the ordinary blood coursing through the giant dragon's veins but an essence condensed from the evil dragon bloodline, similar to a human's heart blood, but even more significant than a human's heart blood. Dragon-blooded centaur Karon and dragon wolf species Saha, along with that batch of dragon descendants from the gladiatorial arena, were actually formed under some unrepeatable condition, affected by the giant dragon's bloodline radiation and the resonance effect of the lair. Rather than dragon descendants, it would be more accurate to call them dragon-related monsters, just like those peripheral monsters born under the influence of the legendary giant dragon's lair effect. Although affected by the giant dragon's bloodline radiation, they do not have dragon blood themselves. They only possess some dragon-related traits and power due to the strong bloodline radiation of the giant dragon, with their own bloodline undergoing some mutation towards dragon blood. Dragon-blooded centaur Karon and dragon descendant werewolf Saha possess strong dragon descendant traits primarily because of their proximity to the red dragon's resting place. The revival of the red dragon's ancestral bloodline exerted an unexpected influence under the resonating lair effect, though such a scene is almost impossible to replicate. The five-colored evil dragon's power is intricately connected to its evil dragon bloodline. The evil dragon true blood that these young giant dragons can condense with their current strength numbers no more than a dozen drops. Losing even one drop of evil dragon true blood would affect these young giant dragons' strength, plunging them into a prolonged period of weakness. Moreover, it is nearly impossible for an ordinary giant dragon to replenish lost evil dragon true blood. Even if they advance to a stronger tier later, the condensed evil dragon true blood is merely newly born, nurtured by their enhanced life level and formidable strength, not a restoration of old deficiencies. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 126-60, Evil Dragon True Blood _3. Chapter 126, Chapter 60, Evil Dragon True Blood _3. Evil Dragon True Blood also relates to the future bloodline potential and talent growth of the giant dragon, so almost no giant dragon would choose to create a dragon descendant. Even with Karon's current strength, the condensed evil dragon true blood is only a few dozen drops. If Karon were to give his evil dragon true blood to the jackal wolfman Yugu in front of him, transforming him into a dragon descendant, Karon would also enter a long period of weakness, possibly even having to sleep to compensate for the consumption of the evil dragon true blood. That's why these young giant dragons reacted so violently, even wanting to kill the entire jackal wolfman tribe. In the eyes of the dragon group, the jackal wolfman leader Yugu in front of them is not only ignorant of when to advance or retreat but also insatiably greedy, daring to covet even the evil dragon true blood of a giant dragon. The destruction of all jackal wolfmen in the world would not be lamented. Although with Karon's current more powerful ancestry compared to other giant dragons, after consuming the evil dragon true blood, he can compensate through sleep and growth, unlike ordinary giant dragons who would feel a loss. Yet, the loss of evil dragon true blood could still affect Karon's growth and evolution potential for a period, and in exchange for what? A dragon descendant beloved that is dispensable to a giant dragon. Karon certainly wouldn't make such a reckless move. For him, his own growth and potential are more important. However, Karon noticed that once he passed through this adolescent phase of slumber, perhaps the once more grown red dragon could create a few beloved at the smallest cost, without affecting his potential and growth. But Karon decided that even so, he would not easily create dragon descendants. Rarity increases value, and too casual a gifting would lead others to disrespect, and they would seek too much, never satisfied. Even so, Karon thought that using the evil dragon true blood of a giant dragon to create dragon descendants could be used as a promotional gimmick for the dragon group after he grows again. Only those who create enough immense value for the giant dragons and pay enough loyalty can have the glory of bloodline bestowal. This should raise the enthusiasm of those monster clans. Perhaps many monsters and clans would willingly join the dragon group. Even those humans who covet the longevity of giant dragons are not few, and some creatures, nearing the end of their lifespan, will do anything to extend their lives. But now it should remain low-key, until the giant dragons reach a higher level. Karon will not choose to create dragon descendant beloved. As for the jackal wolfman leader Yugu, who dares not move under the dragon claw of the female dragon Klina, he does not know the method and cost of the giant dragons creating dragon descendants. Although he has overstepped, it belongs to the ignorance without guilt, and Karon will not punish the jackal wolfman and the entire tribe for it. Karon calmed the anger of the dragon group, letting these giant dragons quell their fury, then had Kleena release the jackal wolfman Yugu, who was bewildered by the sudden anger of the giant dragons that could flip at any moment. Cough, cough, the jackal wolfman Yugu let out a deep breath and then coughed up blood suppressed in his chest. Even if his strength could rival the female red dragon Kleena, his body could not withstand the blows of the giant dragons, and he was injured under Kleena's claws. The centaur warrior has already proven his loyalty and value to the dragon group. His wholehearted devotion to the giant dragons has lasted long enough, which is a virtue that treasures cannot measure. Even if you offer more riches, you cannot obtain the same grace and honor as the centaur warrior. The red dragon lowered his majestic head to look down at the humbled into dust jackal wolfman leader Yugu, his voice deep and powerful. Prove your loyalty to me, prove your value to the dragon group, Yugu, and when you have made sufficient contributions to the dragon group, my gaze will naturally be upon you, and the dragon group will grant you the glory you seek. Yes, my supreme master, esteemed master of the dragon clans, mighty true dragon. The jackal wolfman Yugu bowed his forehead to the soft ground and respectfully replied. The jackal wolfman heard no further from the giant dragon, only felt a sudden gale surge from the ground, as if the flowing wind of the heavens and earth were gathering at that moment. The jackal wolfman raised his head to see the enormous figure of the dragon group spreading its wings already far off in the sky, atop the peaks, unreachable. Sigh. The jackal wolfman leader Yugu sighed, silently gazing at the mountains gradually cloaked and surrounded by clouds. The gap between short-lived and long-lived species became remarkably clear. In the eyes of the giant dragon, the few years might only be enough to prove the loyalty and value of a beloved, but in the world of the short-lived, it was an enormous leap of time. Only now did the rebellious jackal wolfman realize that the cloud-covered mountaintop might be a domain he could never touch in his lifetime. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 127-61, My name is Bang Bang, and I like Bang Bang. Chapter 127, Chapter 61, My name is Bang Bang, and I like Bang Bang. Karon nestled in his volcanic lair, feeling every inch of his body subtly and imperceptibly change as it was immersed in the magma flow, warm as hot spring water. Every giant dragon has a limit to their absorption of magic elements, requiring time to digest it. Even though Karon's innate bloodline is stronger than other giant dragons, he cannot absorb the corresponding magic elements and energy endlessly, but his limit far exceeds that of his peers. Yet, even though he cannot absorb more magic energy elements to accelerate the growth of his body and bloodline, Karon never interrupts this process. In Karon's true vision, he continuously expels excess magic energy elements using his domain radiation waves, allowing this energy, tainted with the will and bloodline radiation of the evil dragon, to continuously infect the space limits achievable by the radiation diffusion medium. Within the maximum range reachable by Karon's domain, aided by the entire dragon nest's radiation, every inch of soil, every stone, and even every bit of air were filled with Karon's aura and energy radiation. This caused Karon's volcanic lair to start being enveloped by an exclusionary domain, where any creature stepping onto the red dragon's mountaintop would feel the space's repulsion and suppression. Only the strength of the red dragon could manifest in this space. As a result, before long, the female red dragon Kleena, who liked secretly using the volcanic magma lakes, might not be able to set foot in Karon's exclusive personal domain. This was a bit of early preparation Karon made for his future slumber. Although he had the protection of many monster beloveds, there were absolutely stronger beings in this world capable of breaking through the beloved's defenses to reach the mountaintop. Therefore, Karon continuously and diligently fortified his lair, which needed not only additional alert magic protection but also some retaliatory suppression methods. In Karon's vision, through this domain radiation control, after prolonged infection and infiltration, the whole mountain would eventually form a domain similar to that naturally possessed by a red dragon. Within such an extremely exclusive domain, Karon's own strength would not be affected but would benefit from the amplification of domain energy. The enemies would be severely suppressed, finding it difficult to obtain replenishing energy from the domain and would have to expend their own strength to resist the domain's suppression. Weakening the enemies while enhancing Karon equaled double enhancement when calculated with just a simple thought. While continuously releasing excess magic element energy, the red dragon also absorbed energy hidden deep within the Earth's core for countless millennia through the ever-blazing volcano. Countless violent or hot magic and energy were then activated by the red dragon, filtered and neutralized through its scales and skin, and absorbed by its body. Karon's evil dragon bloodline seemed to operate every moment, and in slumber, Karon's will relaxed its suppression of the evil dragon blood, allowing the evil dragon bloodline to almost madly absorb the abundant energy and magic accumulated by the underground volcano. These energies and magic, refined and purified by the evil dragon bloodline, seeped into every inch of the red dragon's skin, every organ and every blood vessel through the inhalation and exhalation of evil dragon blood. From macroscopic to microscopic, from large to small, they deeply penetrated every cell, causing the red dragon's body to grow and strengthen slowly without his awareness. Surrounding the volcanic lair, in the stone walls eroded by magma into countless holes and cracks, were embedded countless massive magic gemstones and crystals. These magic gemstones filled the stone walls around the entire lair, shining brightly in the somewhat dim dragon nest like a wall of stars in the night sky. These gemstones and crystals, excellent magic-bearing materials, held a mysterious connection between them and were each positioned at a magic node of a gigantic magic array, releasing gleaming light and pure energy amidst the fluctuation of the array's frequency. Connected across the walls, all the gemstones and crystals formed a gigantic magic array covering the entire mountaintop. The paths of magic runes, composed of runes filled with powerful life energy from beast blood and tiny energy crystal stones, served as the channels linking and transmitting energy within this magic array. Under the coverage of this enormous magic array, the red dragon could bear several times its energy and receive a multiple life enhancement, a magic life growth learned by Karon from the old mage La Puz. Back when the high-tier extraordinary warrior Will Clarence could barely endure a single spell from the squinting mage Hughes, the red dragon now could withstand the tremendous augmentation of the entire magic array. This was the innate advantage of the giant dragon, the overly abundant life source and a body stronger than most creatures in the world, giving its magic-bearing capability unmatched. And this augmented spell did not provoke a reaction from the red dragon's magic resistance under their subjective will. While Karon's body enjoyed the energy's immersion and enhancement, his spirit will plunged into his sea of the mind. On the boundless yet incredibly dark sea of spiritual, Karon's spirit will coalesced into the form of a red dragon, almost identical to his physical form in the external world, except much smaller, appearing incredibly tiny above the boundless dark sea. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 128-61, My name is Bang Bang, and I love Bang Bang. Chapter 128, Chapter 61, My name is Bang Bang, and I love Bang Bang. On this boundless dark ocean, the only thing that emits light is the heart energy vortex, floating above the sea, rising and falling, endlessly spinning. The light emitted by the heart energy vortex is almost colorless, but in Karon's perception, it is like a black hole emitting soft white light. Numerous strands of power of heart energy connect from the void to the heart energy vortex, absorbed, extracted, and accumulated by it. The newly accepted Jackal Wolfman tribe also began to generate a lot of power of heart energy, although, for now, it is relatively weak, even inferior to those muddled-headed green-skinned goblins. Time is needed for change. As Karon's rule and influence deepen over these Jackal Wolfmen, the entire Jackal Wolfman tribe will become a power of heart energy granary for Karon. Only the Jackal Wolfman leader, Yugu, his power of heart energy seems particularly steadfast, and the power of heart energy he provides is not less than that of the Dogman's beloved. On one hand, it stems from the leader's remarkable power and strong spirit, on the other hand, it also reflects Karon's strong influence over him. Under close proximity, Karon can clearly perceive the source and location of each strand of power of heart energy. But those humans farther away from the red dragon are harder for Karon to perceive where their power of heart energy comes from, only able to sense a general direction. However, among these humans, some provide particularly abundant power of heart energy, comparable to Jackal Wolfman Yugu and those faithful dogman's beloved, though their numbers are small. The rest of the humans provide power of heart energy mostly equal to the green-skinned goblins. If divided by follower level, this portion belongs to the generic believers. From the dragon group, the giant dragons provide the most steadfast power of heart energy to Karon. Each strand of power of heart energy is significantly thicker than the rest, like thick vines standing among slender grass. Although the strength of the giant dragons within the dragon group varies, the power of heart energy they provide is almost the same, revealing some distinctions. The weakest young white dragon Kamid can provide power of heart energy comparable to the strongest adolescent blue dragon Axi, proving white dragon Kamid's obedience and trust towards Karon. The adolescent blue dragon Axi has slightly changed, from providing the least power of heart energy within the dragon group to now being comparable to other giant dragons, proving that he is integrating into the core rhythm and atmosphere of the dragon group. Even though the strength of these giant dragons is greater than other dragons' beloved, the total power of heart energy they provide is not the most. The Centaur tribe and the Dogman tribe provide Karon with the most power of heart energy. But the members of the Centaur tribe are far fewer than those of the Dogman tribe. Although the Centaur warrior's strength is generally superior to the Dogman's beloved, even a young Centaur warrior can easily handle several Dogman warriors, proving these robust Centaur warriors' loyalty and support towards the giant dragons. As for the Ogre tribe, their energy provided is roughly equal to that of the green-skinned goblin tribe. Only Ogre Giantess Fafnir now provides power of heart energy that crosses several levels, reaching the extent comparable to the Dogman's beloved. Moreover, due to the Ogre Giantess's innate talent retaliation, she has consistently provided aid in spiritual soul power to Karon, equating to one fish feeding two mouths, giving the red dragon double the value. Currently, although this accumulated energy was consumed in the gladiatorial arena, allowing Karon to evolve and generate a sub-brain node cluster, the total amount now is still a considerable figure after subsequent replenishments. If this efficiency is maintained, by the time Karon steps from adolescent into youth, when he enters sleep, it may be enough for Karon to perform a significant direction of strengthening. Karon is currently considering his next strengthening direction. In his view, this energy-possessing miraculous ability, capable of changing biological essence, should be used wisely to perfect one's own capabilities and create possibilities, rather than simply stacking and strengthening power. Just as when trapped in the Gata Empire, he chose to evolve and generate a sub-brain node cluster, he envisaged it continually perfecting and evolving, ultimately moving towards possessing the capability to help Karon analyze the world rule, rather than being a simple data and information collection analysis library and library. Individual capabilities are ultimately limited, but Karon can amplify this individual strength. This is the magical transformation brought by power of heart energy, which is Karon's strategy for utilizing power of heart energy. Regarding which direction to strengthen next, Karon's mind shifts, retrieving the key information engraved within his evil dragon bloodline from the bloodline talent congealed after his last two enhancements. This information is presented in a form comprehensible to Karon. Bloodline solidification, super limit state growth. Your body's overall qualities will achieve the maximum growth within your bloodline growth range, and the potential of your own bloodline talent will be maximally developed and grown. Bloodline solidification, mental overclocking. You can use steadfast mental will to control yourself in entering a certain body carrying overclocking mode, perfectly controlling all your attributes, freely exerting all the strength and capabilities you possess. These two talents were the optimal solution in Karon's initial choice. Bloodline solidification, super limit state growth perfectly aligns with the advantages and characteristics of the giant dragon race. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 129-61, My name is Bang Bang, and I love bangs. Chapter 129, Chapter 61, My name is Bang Bang, and I love bangs. All the giant dragons possess an increasingly elevated growth curve, but even those who mature to later stages, those who awaken the powerful bloodline of their predecessors, even the evil dragons who hold mighty titles within the endless star realm, seldom realize their full bloodline potential. According to Karon's inherited memories, even a certain famous, powerful white dragon, who roamed countless star realms, never fully tapped into their potential as a giant dragon's bloodline, instead embarking on another correct path. Other giant dragons, who cause dread among countless star realm civilizations, possess unique paths and methods of their own. In Karon's inherited memories, these powerful evil dragons, favored or loathed by the five-colored dragon queen, almost form another race within the dragon race. They share one common title: alien dragon. Karon's situation is rather special. By rights, he should also fall within the category of alien dragons, but Karon has both inherited remnants from the old world and gifts from the new world. He is viewed as a creature born from the new world's origins yet carries traces of the old world. Nonetheless, Karon's talent grants him a significant advantage. Among dragons of the same bloodline level, he is far more comprehensive and formidable than other ordinary giant dragons. Even those dragons who awaken the ancestral dragon blood can only suppress him with their high-level power and bloodline, unable to rival Karon's comprehensive advantage. Another talent compensates for the cumbersome weakness and shortcomings inherent in a giant dragon's massive body. The agility, often criticized in dragons, is no longer a shortcoming for Karon. Moreover, as Karon gradually adapts and practices, this state is becoming a constant condition. In due time, it will be as inherent as the scales and armor on Karon, as an innate ability of the red dragon, rather than a state that needs activation. As for the next step in enhancement, Karon ponders over the two talents engraved within his evil dragon bloodline. He already has a plan to fully exploit his advantages. Not only through the inherent growth and evolution of giant dragons, but also by advancing down the orthodox path as suggested by Mage Lapuz. These two aspects complement each other without causing interference or conflict. Karon's domain, All Things Turn to Ash, can be regarded as a system that condenses a small part of the world's real power. Furthermore, the two other domains about earth and metal elements, gradually awakened by Karon, will also serve as carriers for constructing his own system regarding the world's realism. During this enhancement, Karon will address the gaps in his construction of the real-world system, initially building his cognitive and power systems based on the 5 elements and attributes. The knowledge collected by Karon's sub-brain swarm, upon analysis and speculation, reveals a nearly 60% success rate in Karon's approach. Such a high probability before exploration astonishes Karon. However, the most crucial task now is to accumulate sufficient heart energy. During the next enhancement, the power of heart energy may far exceed Karon's estimates. He set a goal for himself: gather more, not less, to avoid delaying his growth and limiting his development. Bang! A loud noise came from the foot of the distant mountain, somewhat disturbing the sleeping red dragon. Although the sound of vibration had already weakened considerably by the time it reached the mountain peak, Karon's spirit, connected to the entire nest's domain, keenly detected the tremor's fluctuation. However, the red dragon did not open his eyes. Unless something special happened in the territory, he generally wouldn't pay attention. The collected dragon's beloveds served to assist him, sparing him from dealing with everything personally. Besides, there were other dragons, so he didn't pay it heed. Bang! Bang! A thunderous boom came from the green-skinned goblin's camp, accompanied by a huge vibration. Several wooden houses collapsed amidst the grey fog with a rumble, occasional cries of green-skinned goblins buried under the rubble pierced through. Damn it, it's that guy Bang Bang again. This is the umpteenth time this month he's blown up his house, and now he's demolished mine too. What a bothersome goblin. Wish that annoying goblin gets crushed to death by his house, so we don't have to endure this several times each month. Glorp snorp, goblin language swearing, really nasty. A grown goblin, enraged, flailed his limbs, yelling in front of his collapsed house, more furious at the goblin than distressed over his house's collapse. Other goblins shouted, "Quick, hurry up, dig that jinxed Bang Bang out of the debris, don't let that trouble-seeking fool die inside, he's a goblin who has met the dragons, this guy always loves to get himself and us into trouble." Many goblins clamored, peeling the collapsed wooden house apart, carrying away each thick log and gigantic furniture compared to their short statures. Finally, they dug out a young, dazed goblin from the corner of the ruins. This goblin is irregularly ugly, worse than ordinary goblins. Upon closer inspection, his face and body bore numerous scars. These healed wounds made this otherwise ordinary goblin look incredibly hideous. Many goblins didn't care about the logs pressing on the young goblin named Bang Bang. They directly swarmed up, pulling on Bang Bang's exposed arms and upper body. A few creative green-skinned goblins even hugged Bang Bang's head and neck, ready to pull this unlucky goblin out of the rubble like uprooting a radish. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 130-61, My name is Bang Bang, and I like Bang Bang. Chapter 130, Chapter 61, My name is Bang Bang, and I like Bang Bang. Ah, slow down, Goblin Bang Bang's bewildered face showed a pained expression, and he began to wail loudly, "My leg is broken, don't pull me anymore, if you pull, the whole Goblin Bang Bang will be broken." Finally, amidst Goblin Bang Bang's wailing, the other goblins abandoned this overly rough method and pried open the wood that was pressing on Bang Bang, finally rescuing the young Goblin Bang Bang. The unlucky Goblin Bang Bang sat crookedly on the ground, and once the other goblins pulled him out, they no longer cared about him, letting him fend for himself. Even Bang Bang's neighbor stopped his cursing. He was tired and didn't want to bother with Bang Bang. "Hey, my leg is broken, what should I do with this house?" The young Bang Bang sat on the ground, looking at the house that had once again turned into ruin, his face full of worry, but he suddenly seemed to remember something and hurriedly shouted, "Ah, I forgot my toy, I have to find it, I hope it's not destroyed." The young, ugly Goblin Bang Bang hurriedly dragged his stubby short leg to crawl to the ruins of his house, using his shriveled short hands to search through the debris, constantly rummaging through the dust. "Elf trap ball, not this one." Goblin Bang Bang found a round tool emitting a unique scent, and without hesitation, threw it aside. "Dogman vision enhancement glasses, not this one." A pair of glasses connected by a thin string to two lenses, similar to hanging ear-style glasses, was tossed aside by Goblin Bang Bang. "Centaur fertility potion, not this one." A black-green bottle was discarded by Goblin Bang Bang. His stubby hands kept rummaging, tossing aside one peculiar item after another, and his ugly face was already covered with a layer of fine sweat. "I hope none of them are destroyed," Goblin Bang Bang muttered. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and his face showed an expression of happiness as he dug out an object similar to a furnace used by humans for warmth. Embracing it tightly in his arms, he laughed heartily, "It's not broken, it's not broken. The magic furnace hasn't been completely destroyed. I, Goblin Bang Bang, will receive a reward from the giant dragon." Green-skinned Goblin Bang Bang was known as a daring inventor in the green-skinned goblin tribe, always possessing an intense curiosity about everything in the world and continuously exploring under its influence. Most of the things invented by green-skinned Goblin Bang Bang during his exploration were peculiar and had little practical use, but occasionally one or two highly useful inventions emerged, or ones with some development potential. Green-skinned Goblin Bang Bang exhibited exceptional acuity in sensing certain traits of things in the world, as he once ground certain stones extracted from the mountain beneath Red Dragon into powder, mixing it with pungent substances contained in volcanic soil and ground charcoal, creating a certain pungent powder capable of burning. Although after inventing this powder, Goblin Bang Bang couldn't control the amount and ended up burning half of his house and his neighbor's house, he truly didn't do it on purpose. He invented this powder merely to drive away mosquitoes and venomous insects ubiquitous in the forest, not expecting the random concoction to react so violently upon encountering flame. Then Goblin Bang Bang was reported by the Goblin leader to Dogman leader who managed the Goblin camp, and Dogman leader Bag chose to report this special invention to the giant dragon, thus also informing Karon. Upon the red dragon meeting this daring and unlucky goblin, they discovered in astonishment that this goblin had unwittingly created black powder. Although Karon wasn't surprised by the advent of black powder, in his perception, this world differed significantly from the original world. Even if some foundational rules were shared across worlds, and black powder could exert its power just as in the original world, Karon wouldn't focus on it. In Karon's view, without a mature industrial system and a complete production capability framework, utilizing these powders effectively was merely wishful thinking. Moreover, even with a supporting infrastructure, it wouldn't reach a level where it could harm even a prepared low-tier mage. The resources consumed by input and the rewards gained are far from proportional, plus this world thrives in magic. Magic civilization has gradually reached its peak. Some methods of applying magic far exceed the industrial technology of the previous life, like the colossal floating city high in the sky in Karon's memory heritage, various magical and powerful golems, and various potent forbidden curse magic, with a destructive capability not inferior to any methods from the previous life. Thus, Karon never considered pursuing any industrial great development in this world or focusing on it. To the Red Dragon, blindly applying unchanged methods, analyzing specific issues specifically and adapting to local circumstances was extremely foolish. However, some practices from the previous life had their merits, and he could choose the best options from both worlds. When the productivity of the territory reached a certain level, he could properly establish a basic related product assembly line and industrial foundation system, mainly to facilitate the territory's life and essential construction, and most importantly, to serve the giant dragon's ideas. Even though young Goblin Bang Bang's invention did not deliver the excitement to the Red Dragon, the Red Dragon considered this goblin a rare talent, granted this young goblin a relatively unique and superior position and reward, allowing this green-skinned goblin to directly interact with Dogman leader Bag, and then meet the Red Dragon through Bag. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 131-61, My name is Bang Bang, and I love explosions. Chapter 131, Chapter 61, My name is Bang Bang, and I love explosions. And after the Red Dragon met the goblin, he gave green-skinned Goblin Bang Bang a task, which was to think of a way to turn black powder into fireworks. In Karon's memory, turning black powder into fireworks only required a few simple steps. For instance, adding some metal luminescent agents and color agents could make the fireworks bloom with colorful hues. Karon thought that these fireworks might bring some lovely gold coins to the giant dragon. However, the minds of green-skinned goblins are just like those green-skinned orcs from some world, filled with all sorts of chaotic and unpredictable thoughts and blessed by some reasoning power. After receiving the task from the Red Dragon, green-skinned Goblin Bang Bang was still researching how to turn black powder into fireworks that could launch into the sky and release various colors of flames, but his mind came up with another idea. The young Goblin Bang Bang had once used a hollow ball and a sealed iron kettle filled with water, connecting them with two hollow tubes. Heating the kettle bottom made the water boil and turn into steam, which entered the ball through the tubes. Eventually, steam would spray from both sides of the ball, causing it to rotate. This intriguing toy was called a steam turbine ball by Goblin Bang Bang, constantly spinning in the goblin's house and inspiring Bang Bang with countless ideas just like the gushing steam. Today's idea from the young Goblin Bang Bang was to create a magical toy based on the steam turbine ball, using the magical power omnipresent in the air as the drive for a magic power turbine ball. To prevent insufficient magical power concentration from making it difficult to drive the toy, Goblin Bang Bang boldly used the small piece of magic crystal rewarded to him by the Red Dragon as the core power source, resulting in an explosion that destroyed his house and his neighbor's wooden cottage. Fortunately, Goblin Bang Bang had used refined iron, awarded by the Red Dragon, to create the shell of the magic power turbine ball. The blast from unstable magical power only sprayed from 2 outlets. Otherwise, not even the god of luck's blessing would have spared Goblin Bang Bang from more than just getting his leg broken under rubble today. Hee hee, the lucky Goblin Bang Bang giggled foolishly while holding a blackened furnace. This toy is so powerful, like the bomb the giant dragon spoke of. Did I cleverly invent that thing called a bomb? I must quickly find Chief Bag, I'm eager to receive the reward from the giant dragon. Goblin Bang Bang, dragging his broken leg, stood up, puffed out his withered chest, and courageously limped through the goblin camp, heading towards the dogman camp. He was bestowed with a unique identity by the Red Dragon, and his neck bore the identity card given to him by the Red Dragon, allowing him to freely access all tribe camps. Along the way, the kobolds watched the limping Goblin Bang Bang and continuously ridiculed him. In the eyes of these kobolds, the chaotic, foolish goblins are as lowly as the idiotic, inferior ogres, not worthy of a proper glance from the kobolds, even though Goblin Bang Bang had been praised by the Red Dragon. This still didn't change the external perception and status of the whole race. HOH, little green-skinned dwarf, what's wrong with your leg? Did your invention hurt you again? Be careful, getting yourself injured doesn't matter, but damaging the noble true dragon's territory is unpardonable. Ha ha ha, every month you can see some fun things happening in the green-skinned dwarf's camp. Hey, little dwarf, I think you could join a human circus, you'll certainly amuse everyone. The equally small-statured kobold mocked the limping, silent Goblin Bang Bang unscrupulously. The bustling kobold camp instantly erupted with laughter from these kobolds. Each passing kobold cast disdainful, haughty glances at the green-skinned goblin, as they were the true dragon-blessed clan, deservedly arrogant. But Goblin Bang Bang paid no mind to these jests, instead slowly walking to the front of Dogman Leader Bag's house and knocked on the door of Dogman Bag's house. Bang bang! After a while, the persistent goblin finally saw the wide, tall door open, revealing the now elderly head of Dogman Leader Bag. When Dogman Leader Bag saw that it was green-skinned Goblin Bang Bang, an impatient expression filled his aged, gaunt face, with a dismissive and proud look in his eyes. Bag loudly scolded, "Bang Bang, are you again trying to please the noble true dragon with those laughable little contraptions? I have told you, without proof of success, don't bother me. I don't want to disturb the great giant dragon for some toys and suffer the dragon's wrath." Even compared with the small, lean stature of Dogman Leader Bag, green-skinned Goblin Bang Bang appeared frail as he bent down to bow to Bag. Then Bang Bang quietly said, "Good day, Lord Bag, I think I have created that powerful bomb the great dragon mentioned, and the collapsed houses of my neighbor and I are proof of success." Speaking, Goblin Bang Bang raised his hand holding the blackened, foul toaster. "Look, Lord Bag, this is my invention, I hope it won't disappoint you, perhaps the noble giant dragon will be happy and might reward and commend you for it." Dogman Leader Bag initially wanted to refuse the goblin's request in front of him, but hearing that he might receive the giant dragon's reward and commendation made him hesitate for a moment before nodding his head. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 132-61, My name is Bang Bang, and I love Bang Bang. Chapter 132, Chapter 61, My name is Bang Bang, and I love Bang Bang. With a hoarse and senile voice, he said, "All right, then come with me. You'd better ensure that what you say can come true, otherwise, this month's tribute from you green-skinned goblins to the dragon group will have to be more," the kobold threatened the green-skinned goblin before him. Goblin Bang Bang silently nodded, gritted his teeth, and hopped along, silently following the steps of the Kobold Leader Bag. Under the lead of Kobold Leader Bag, they soon arrived at the foot of the mountain, where they encountered dragon descendant Werewolf Saha, who was patrolling the mountain path and guarding. The dragon descendant Wolfman explained their purpose. Dragon descendant Werewolf Saha looked up at the sun about to set in the west and said, "It's almost dark. When will you two short-legged creatures reach the mountaintop?" You can't disturb the giant dragon's rest. You stay here and continue patrolling. I'll take them up, the werewolf instructed his subordinates. After saying this, the werewolf extended his sturdy arms, lifted the kobold leader bag and goblin bang bang, one in each hand, as if they were two lightweight jerky slabs, and sprinted towards the peak of Red Dragon's mountain. In the eyes of the kobold and goblin, the tall steps were crossed rapidly as if they were level ground under the strong feet of the dragon-descendant werewolf. To avoid disturbing the giant dragon's rest, the werewolf's speed increased, making kobold bag and goblin bang bang swing like two swings hanging on his arms. Ugh! The rapid running and swinging made the two weak subordinates emit a retching sound, while goblin bang bang closed his eyes tightly, clutching the small furnace-like toy in his arms tightly. When they finally reached the mountaintop and slid off the werewolf Saha's arms, the two subordinates nearly threw up their lunch from today, lying on the ground, continuously vomiting. My lord, Saha has come to pay his respects. Werewolf Saha stopped under the mountaintop nest, did not venture onto the peak. His formidable strength and keen intuition had already sensed an oppressive force and threat emanating from the red dragon's nest, and like other dragon descendants, he harbored no intentions of overstepping his bounds with his master. Boom! Werewolf Saha heard the sound of the red dragon stretching its body leap from the lava, raising a magma waterfall, and the next moment, the colossal body of the red dragon appeared before the werewolf's eyes. What brings you here, Saha? Karon extended his massive head forward, looking down at the subordinates waiting below the mountaintop steps. My lord, I brought these two folks to pay their respects to you. They said they have something you'd love to see. Dragon descendant werewolf Saha knelt on one knee, his head adorned with dragon horns bowed low, with an extremely respectful attitude. Speak, what is it? I hope you can satisfy me. Karon's eyes showed some dissatisfaction. He had delegated most matters within his territory to other giant dragons and trusted subordinates, focusing solely on exploring his future path and disliking casual interference. Great Master, the goblin says he invented something of tremendous power, calling it a bomb, which you once mentioned. You must be keen to see it, and insisted I bring him over. The slick kobold leader bag knelt on the ground, showing respect but subtly shifting the responsibility in his words. A bomb. Karon frowned. He had not endorsed such things when he mentioned them, and with current means, even if invented, it would merely be used like throwing rocks, perhaps only intimidating mortals, without even harming low-tier extraordinary warriors. Perhaps the goblin wanted to ingratiate himself by creating such a thing because he saw me mention it once, Karon thought clearly. Karon's large red pupils glanced sidelong at the kobold, then looked at the goblin bang bang, also kneeling at his feet, as a deep, calm voice resounded, "Present it, let me see." The frail goblin bang bang raised the blackened furnace above his head with both hands and then softly explained to the red dragon the item's operation and power. Red dragon received the furnace named as bomb by goblin bang bang, and as he examined it, the furrowed brow slowly smoothed out, a hint of a smile appearing on red dragon's sinister face. This isn't a bomb, from what the goblin says, it's clearly the prototype of a steam engine, but driven by magical power, a magic steam engine, or more aptly termed a magic furnace. Karon, though ignorant of the object's structure before him, discerned some clues from the goblin's explanation. But calling it a bomb is fine, the explosion of such a magic furnace would not be lesser than a bomb. Karon's face bore a satisfied smile as he looked at some magic patterns engraved on the furnace, evidently magic runes for absorbing and gathering magic, alongside some representing the output of magic energy. I wonder where this goblin found these runes, and this ingenious concept. Could it be that these goblins also possess divinely bestowed insight like those green-skinned orcs? Karon's mind raced, but the eyes that were momentarily filled with a surge of morning moodiness soon returned to tranquility. Karon did not reveal his excitement or joy. Instead, he calmly said, "Goblin, tell me your name." "Great Giant Dragon Lord, my name is Bang Bang. I have had the honor of your audience once before." The goblin Bang Bang slammed his ugly head onto the ground with a thud, determined and firm. All right, stop. Karen's brows furrowed again, not due to disliking others bowing but out of fear the goblin might damage that rare clever head. Though the goblin claimed to have had an audience before, Karon had no recollection of such minor matters, nor did he care to mobilize the sub-brain cluster to search his memory. Red Dragon nodded, his deep voice echoing in the goblin's ears, "Goblin Bang Bang, your name is now remembered by me. I very much like your invention, you deserve my reward. State what you wish as a reward, and if I can grant it, even making you a dragon descendant with endless lifespan and formidable power, I can reward you." The overjoyed goblin Bang Bang swiftly banged his head on the ground 3 more times with a thud, then looked up, exclaiming happily, "Great giant dragon lord, Goblin Bang Bang desires nothing but to have the goblin tribe become the genuine subordinates of the giant dragon lord, like the Dogman tribe." Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 133-62, Racial Hero. Chapter 133, Chapter 62, Racial Hero. The enormous red body of Karon stood atop the mountain, silently overlooking the tiny, frail figure perched on the mountainside below. Goblin Bang Bang bestowed upon the red dragon a unique feeling, as every race gives birth to a few exceptional individuals, be it through powerful forces or great personalities. These individuals, upon reaching their peak, are commonly called heroes within their tribes. Such heroes may transcend racial boundaries, break genetic limitations, and possess superhuman strength. Perhaps it's due to their conduct and special abilities leading their tribe towards prosperity. Even a frail race like the green-skinned goblins has given birth to a member like Bang Bang, proving that no matter how insignificant a race may seem, it has its unique point upon being born into the world. Karon eagerly anticipated Goblin Bang Bang's future growth, seeing him become a hero within the goblin tribe. In the eyes of the Red Dragon, Goblin Bang Bang already had immeasurable value, a talent unmatched by any ordinary wealth. Although Karon raised the importance of Goblin Bang Bang in his mind, he did not agree to Bang Bang's requests but offered him another kind of reward. That is, Goblin Bang Bang would have a slot to become a dragon descendant. Anyone recognized by Bang Bang would receive the dragon's blessing, granted with its blood, becoming a dragon descendant with longevity and great power. This is not because Karon was overly harsh or cruel, wishing to keep the goblin tribe enslaved forever, but because Karon wouldn't allow others to easily guess his true intentions. Combining humanity and dragon nature, Karon gradually became a giant dragon with the characteristics of a political being. Just like what Karon did to Dogman's beloved in his youth, he wouldn't let his subordinates think they could make demands just by grasping his interests and thoughts. However, Karon promised Goblin Bang Bang that if Bang Bang could improve and perfect the 2 types of power cores, his wishes would be fulfilled. Karon could already foresee the changes in the Dragon Group territory following the advancements in steam-powered inventions made by Goblin Bang Bang, with the introduction of steam engines to the Otherworld. The appearance and application of this tool hold epoch-making significance in any suitable world, unlike the straightforward and barren use of black powder. It has a profoundly far-reaching impact on every aspect of the world. Even the simplest and most initial application of steam power can fundamentally change the transportation technology system. The carrying capacity of steam locomotives and steamships is unparalleled by those enormous beasts and dragon beasts. Sailboats and multi-masted ships currently in use will soon be replaced by the safer and more manageable steamships. Being the origin of this transformation, the Dragon Group territory will experience significant growth. Moreover, with the exploration and deep development of technology, railways, a highly convenient and advantageous transportation network, will naturally develop. This could also trigger an industrial revolution to some extent, having irreplaceable advantages in sectors such as textiles, mining, metallurgy, and dyeing, bringing dramatic development and change to the Dragon Group territory's originally low productive capacity, gradually overshadowing those production methods primarily reliant on human power, animal power, and water power. Increasing labor efficiency exponentially, it could release productive forces, causing a leap in productivity across the dragon group territory. Many social structures need to be established on a certain productive foundation and cannot be simply molded by one person's simplistic ideas. Without reaching a specific level of productivity, one can only maintain the simplest basic social relations and structures. Almost all high-level and low-level life structures in this world are relatively disconnected. Those possessing magic knowledge and extraordinary power, like mages and the nobility, use their knowledge and power to enjoy relatively convenient lives. The mage-made magic hovercraft is also an extremely convenient means of transportation, along with magic puppets and golems, immensely useful tools. However, these mages and the nobility don't use this knowledge to change the fate and lives of the lower strata, partially due to cost reasons. On the other hand, there's the class issue. No mage or noble cares about the lives of the lower strata. Even the more benevolent nobility merely exempt a bit of tax. This is irrelevant to the large population in the lower strata who still live in relatively primitive stages where transportation relies on walking, and communication depends on shouting. Horses, which are ordinary means of transportation for merchants, are precious creatures that these lower-class people may never afford in their lifetimes. These mages and nobles do not care for these lower-class people, but Karon knows that once their productivity is unleashed, they could create immense value for him. Yes, Karon is not concerned with liberating so-called humanity or offering others a better life. What he cares about is the wealth and value that such advancements could bring to him and the dragon group. As for the changes these tools might bring, allowing the lower strata and beloved to enjoy more convenient lives, it is merely an incidental effect. Karon wouldn't hinder this trend, as long as it benefits him and the dragon group, he welcomes such changes. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 134-62, Racial Hero, Part 2. Chapter 134, Chapter 62, Racial Hero, Part 2. Of course, Karon values the magic furnace more, or rather the magic power core. In this world where magic civilization is flourishing, the magic power core is destined to shine brightly. It will represent the mid to high-end products of the dragon group territory, running parallel with the steam power core without conflict, and they have a complementary relationship. Because until the steam power core has developed to a certain height, it will always be difficult to compare with the application of the magic power core. The steam power core can use ordinary fuels and resources to generate power, providing fundamental development for the territory. The magic power core, however, uses magical abilities and resources to create mid to high-end products and value. The combination of these two can greatly utilize the effective resources of the dragon group territory. It can be said that not a single resource in the dragon group territory will be wasted in the future. In Karon's memory, the mobile floating city suspended in the sky may no longer be a fantasy but a practical success possibility once the magic power core develops to a certain extent, and belongs to the giant dragon's magic floating city. However, these all belong to the future development planning of the dragon group territory. In Red Dragon's eyes, the current giant dragon territory is still too primitive, without a mature productivity system, and societal relationships and structures are not yet stable, because productivity always determines production relations. The root cause is that the dragon group and their beloveds live more akin to those nomadic civilizations, and the residents of Golden Harbor Town are more like merchants at a trading venue. Therefore, Karon is now focusing on changing this social form and structure, allowing this territory to have genuine foundations and basics. Nothing in the world happens overnight, and the development of the territory will not immediately rise to the level of a kingdom with a mature basic system because of Karon's wishful thinking. When the dragon group territory can basically be self-sufficient and no longer needs to hunt every day to ensure survival, the dragon group's territory will initially be on the right track. And food is foundational among foundations. Without sufficient food, everything is empty talk, and with an empty belly, any ideas are like the moon in water, castles in the air. All this requires a large labor population for the development and production of the dragon group territory, so Karon did not disapprove of the conquests of Black Dragon Rosani and Centaur Karon. Instead, he would strongly encourage this behavior, as long as it is not overly aggressive. The newly accepted Jackal Wolfman beloveds are also valued by Karon, having equal status with other beloveds. But Red Dragon doesn't care about these Jackal Wolfmen's combat power, rather, he values their trained discipline and the Jackal Wolfmen's ability to cultivate good breeds. These Jackal Wolfmen have already gone into the forest to develop land under the leadership of the Kobold. Developing land in the forest is actually very troublesome and arduous. Especially for those trees that have grown for countless years, the large, thick roots are difficult for human strength to clear, but they pose no problem for these strong and powerful Jackal Wolfmen. Especially since these Jackal Wolfmen also like to tame dragon beasts, using these beasts to help them develop the land, temporarily increasing the efficiency of forest development. However, the land opened up by these beloveds is river separated from the land opened up by humans. This is exclusively the land of the dragon group's beloveds, where they will plant seeds of cereal grains purchased from human merchants and the chestnut seeds cultivated by the Jackal Wolfmen. Even though Karon intends to attract humans to settle here, he will not clear land for these humans for no reason. The land they require must be created by their own hands, so they will cherish what they possess more. Karon's red eyes glanced at dragon descendant werewolf Saha standing respectfully beside him, saying to this loyal dragon descendant, "Saha, go tell Das to focus on the Goblin Bang Bang. The resources of the dragon group territory can be tilted towards Goblin Bang Bang. And have 2 dragon descendants take turns with some intelligent beloveds to follow the goblins. On the one hand, to protect the goblins' safety, on the other hand, to keep it confidential, and not let the inventions of Goblin Bang Bang leak out. If anyone dares to steal goblins' achievements, I think you know what to do." The red dragon's voice was calm, but an undeniable chill of murder intent was exposed in his words. "Yes, my lord, I will pay special attention to the goblins," dragon descendant werewolf Saha, though not clear why the giant dragon valued the weak goblins so much, would only dutifully execute orders without any other thoughts. Red Dragon nodded in satisfaction. What pleased him most about the dragon descendant werewolf was that he was like a loyal hound, only obeying the master's orders and firmly complying, unlike other beloveds, who though still subordinate to the giant dragon's power, had their own thoughts. Of course, Karon doesn't dislike this behavior, he does not want his territory to be lifeless and allows individual thoughts to exist. He hopes for a vibrant land with flourishing diversity, as long as it doesn't affect the giant dragon's interests. Also, have Das issue a bounty, telling everyone, regardless of race or status, that if anyone can find the species and technologies or crafts missing from the dragon group territory, or unique treasures, and offer them to the giant dragon will reward them with gold and treasures equal to their body weight. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 135-62, Racial Hero _3. Chapter 135, Chapter 62, Racial Hero _3. Karon instructed the dragon descendant werewolf, fully emulating Lord Shang's pillar standing and spending a fortune to buy bones. Even if early on those merchants and adventurers or ordinary humans presented unneeded things to the giant dragons, the dragons would reward them. Now the dragon group territory requires a large influx of talents. Even though Goblin Bang Bang is surprisingly clever, Karon doesn't rely on Goblin Bang Bang to single-handedly refine and perfect the Magic Power Core and Steam Power Core. He needs to recruit many knowledgeable and intelligent talents. And these talents need the dragon group to showcase its credibility, letting people know that even 5-colored evil dragons can possess order and credibility to gain initial trust from others. Karon would showcase the image of the dragon group rewarding good deeds and punishing mistakes, emphasizing promise and credibility, highlighting the image of the Gogomola dragon group against other chaotic 5-color dragons. This is the foundation of a strong kingdom. A society without order can never become a strong civilization. And Karon's goal is to discard the overly free and lazy habits of the giant dragon. Because of the dragon's overpowering strength and adaptability leading to relatively primitive lifestyle habits, he aims to construct his dragon group and territory into a civilization where giant dragons and all other races integrate. An open and inclusive civilization ruled by the dragons, not like the narrow small society of Dragon Island formed by dragons in other planes that Karon inherited memories of. Yes, my lord, the dragon descendant werewolf was unaware of the red dragon's plans and visions and looked at his dragon lord's cheek to see if Karon had any additional orders or requests. All right, there's nothing to instruct you for now, you may leave. The red dragon waved its claw to indicate that the dragon descendant werewolf could leave. The dragon descendant werewolf saw who received the giant dragon's signal, stood up, and walked down the mountain in large strides. Although he had a pair of wings comparable to those of the two-legged flying dragons inhabiting the forests, he would never flutter his wings to soar into the air in Karon's presence. This was dragon descendant werewolf Saha's sincere respect for the giant dragon. The once proud werewolf completely transformed after heartfelt taming. The red dragon gazed at the werewolf's figure, recalling the heart energy vortex connected through heart energy power in his sea of spiritual. He doesn't need to guess, he has already definitely felt an inevitably occurring fact. If his soul and spiritual power grow further, breaking through the current limits, he could stir this heart energy power, using its connections for communication and interaction with determined beloved and supporters, perhaps yielding some additional surprising effects. Just like capabilities similar to telepathy and teleportation, perhaps when his soul power is strong enough, he could utilize heart energy power to establish a mind network, communicating with his loyal beloved and supporters at any place, any time. However, Karon's ability is currently insufficient to achieve this. He scratched his broad and solid jaw with a dragon claw, muttering to himself, "Perhaps I should have some attendants specifically to deliver messages, but obviously, these attendants aren't suited to stay in my dragon nest." The red dragon stood up. The grey clouds and heat usually enveloping the mountain top couldn't block his view. The dragon castle in the distance is now just a prototype. Castle designed for the giant dragon is overly tall and spacious, so even under the diligent work of the dragon's beloved, the entire dragon castle has only been laid with a solid foundation and low walls. Although these dragon castles built entirely with huge stones appear imposing, the open-air castles are obviously unsuitable for inhabitation. There's still some time until the complete construction of the dragon castle. The red dragon estimated the speed, then shook his head, "Never mind, let's leave it as it is for now. I can't always stay in the nest. Though it's beneficial for growth, staying too long might become a shut-in dragon, ultimately detrimental to my body and mind." Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 136-63, Dragon Trader and the Countess, 10,000 words achieved. Chapter 136, Chapter 63, Dragon Trader and the Countess, 10,000 words achieved. Bang, bang, bang. Open the door, you people inside, open the door immediately, or I'll kick it down. The harsh voice of a man accompanied by violent knocking erupted. Nora and her grandmother shivered, clinging to each other, hiding in the small room, eyes staring at each other without saying a word, even their breaths instinctively held, afraid the faint sound of breathing would be heard by those outside. Nora is a free person without status, or more aptly a drifter, living in this wilderness far from bustling towns since she was born. Gathering in this dangerous wilderness are refugees from other places or those hiding away, serfs, hunters, and common folk, yet once they arrive in the wilderness, they become free people with freedom. However, though the wilderness offers mostly unattainable freedom for most ordinary people, it also requires facing dangers that most people need not face. Because within this wilderness, visible dangers are aplenty: wandering jackal wolfmen and goblin settlements, bandit-loving half-beastmen and kobolds, sometimes even ogres crashing into village walls in a rampage. Furthermore, wild beasts pose numerous dangers. Neighbors who were chatting and laughing with Nora yesterday might lay amidst some remote wild corner the next day, accompanied by death. Nora's parents left her in such a manner, leaving Nora and her aging grandmother to depend on each other. Though Nora heard the elderly in the village say their dwelling belongs to the territory of a red copper dragon, Nora had never seen said powerful giant dragon. The small village faced accidents and dangers frequently, yet the red copper dragon lord never appeared to resolve them. Perhaps the territory is too vast for the dragon to manage. Sometimes fantasies of dragon saving the village arise within Nora. Luckily, due to living in such an environment, the people in the village are rather united. Even if their days aren't well off, they're willing to lend a helping hand occasionally, aiding young Nora and aged grandmother. Thus Nora and grandmother survive. Despite such difficult living, these spontaneously gathered free people rather risk various dangers in wilderness to cultivate land and settle, unwilling to return to past lives of pain, oppression, and hopelessness. Nora envisions such a dangerous yet calm life lasting forever, until she matures. Grandmother joins parents, and she establishes a new family in this place. Until today, the village's tranquility was once again shattered, but not by beasts or monsters, nor the dragon, but a raider-like group of humans. These humans were baser and more brutal than half-beastmen and kobold bandits. Half-beastmen and kobold bandits, even when breaking village defenses, merely steal food and livestock, occasionally abducting some women. But these human raiders not only took away food and livestock, they dragged villagers hiding inside houses out to take along. In Nora's eyes, the village's strongest headman was overwhelmed when approached to question these raiders. The only merit with these human raiders was not killing villagers. All defeated villagers were seized by raiders, their hands tied, feet locked like slaves meant for selling. Nora, petite, hastened back home upon seeing this scene, barricading with grandmother, hoping to evade calamity. Yet the impatience of those outside thumped through the already tattered door, crashing in. A tall middle-aged man, dark cracked skin and oily shiny hair rendering him utterly desolate, dressed in fine leather armor, wielding a weapon obviously of high caliber, even to Nora who couldn't discern. In Nora's eyes, these raiders seemed more like the mercenaries village head uncle spoke of. The middle-aged man bent down, peered under the table, crestfallen, muttering, "Just a girl and old woman, not worth much, should have picked another house." "Uncle, we have no money, this house is the most valuable." Nora timid, blocking in front grandmother, yet committed speaking, "I could give house to you, or go with you, please don't hurt grandmother." "Hat, what little worth's a wreck house, it's you that's valuable, come with me, even your old grandmother fetches some price, don't force me act." Crawl out obediently, middle-aged man indifferent to Nora, wielding a finely engraved sword menacingly. "Go, Nora, don't defy this lord's order, I'll go with you, may still care for you last." Grandmother's watery eyes poured tears, withered hands caressing granddaughter. Nora lip-bit nodded, supporting her grandmother crawling out, following middle-aged man exiting most warmest, safest shack that's entire world to her. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 137-63, Dragon Trader and Countess. Chapter 137, Chapter 63, Dragon Trader and Countess. Sir, I am just a traveling bard passing through and staying for a night, I am not from this village." Nora followed the voice and saw a young man, though dressed plainly, seemed quite flamboyant, being pressed by another bandit to drag him out of the house. Though the young man didn't dare to resist, he desperately tried to explain. Nora knew this young man, a traveler who stayed with a village uncle some time ago. Allegedly here to gather material, he knew many stories and would walk around the village daily conversing with people and sometimes telling stories to the village children. Nora liked him very much. A bard counts as well," said another bandit, ignoring the bard's explanation and tying his hands together. Nora saw many villagers, and her own companions had their hands bound and were brought to the village center under the threat of these bandits. Perhaps because Nora and her grandmother lacked the ability or threat to escape, the bandits did not bind Nora and her grandmother. In the village center, Nora saw the strongest person in her heart, Uncle Village Chief, but the bandits referred to the village chief as Fain Knight. Didn't expect you to be hiding here, Fain. I heard you once defied the Pope's orders and were labeled a heretic and defiler of God. To see the great leader of the Church Knight Order reduced to living as a wild man in the wilderness is truly a pity. The bandit leader, sitting tall on a towering red-blooded horse, taunted the village chief. Village Chief Fain's expression remained unchanged as he retorted, "Your mercenary corps is considered quite influential in the northern continent. Why resort to such filthy work now?" The bandit leader laughed heartily, "No choice, those evil dragons in the land of Golden seem very ambitious. They need a lot of people to fill their territories. I originally disliked this kind of dirty work, but what those giant dragons offer is just too much." Village Chief Fain's calm face changed, and he said in a deep voice, "You actually trade with those evil dragons? Aren't you afraid they will renege? Moreover, if those noble lords find out about your collusion with the dragons, even if you are the most powerful mercenary group in the northern continent, you will be wiped out." "Haha, Fain, no wonder you were hunted and expelled by the church, you are just too naive," the bandit leader laughed uncontrollably. "Those evil dragons, as long as they give me their lovely gold coins, are kinder than the golden dragons. Even if the golden dragons do not give me gold coins, they are evil creatures. Moreover, do you think only our mercenary corps is doing this? Those nobles are far worse than us. I just found your village by luck before they could strike," scoffed the bandit leader. "Those five-color dragons, though still proud and arrogant, are surprisingly trustworthy. Anyone who goes to the land of Golden realizes that. Besides, doing business always has risks. As long as I succeed, I can make a lot of money. This risk is nothing to me." While these people gathered and conversed in the village, they did not notice, far away in the wilderness, on a towering mountain peak, there were two giant dragons overlooking the entire wilderness. Everything happening in this village was taken in by the two dragons. One of them, a male giant dragon, was about 16 meters long, with dense, firm scales radiating a gentle and warm reddish-brown glow. A pair of strong drumstick-like dragon horns grew on its head, and a webbed-like tissue connected the dragon horns and cheeks. This was a red copper dragon, and also the giant dragon lord of this area, Alfred. The wings of the giant dragon were wide, akin to large, ribbed sails, extending and connected from the wing's tail to the body's tail. The other was a female giant dragon, its smooth and polished scales were a deep and rich bronze color, with webbing growing on its dragon claws, and eyes like glowing green orbs. It was about 15 meters long, only slightly smaller than the male dragon. The rest of its body structure was not very different from the male dragon, with bat wings grown on its head, neck, and tail, only its wings were more like ribless triangular sail wings. This was a young female bronze dragon, and the object of the pursuit of red copper dragon Alfred, Alina. At this moment, the young female bronze dragon Alina was frowning, glaring at red copper dragon Alfred, who was pretending to look innocent, with a voice carrying a hint of anger. "Alfred, this is the territory you said has great development potential, ha! You even sold those humans who could potentially lead to these bandits. What do you want me to govern, ruling over those ignorant beasts and those vile monster bandits? I am not like those foolish and desperate five-color dragons taking any monster into their fold." The young bronze dragon Alina fumed in anger, her slender fangs grinding fiercely as if wanting to take a hard bite out of the innocent-looking red copper dragon before her. Unlike her kin, the female bronze dragon Alina had different interests. Bronze dragons were a curious breed, especially fascinated by war. They often transformed into small, friendly animals or humans, observing adventurers and humans invading their domains. They also used the transformation skill to become human and join armies to become war observers, becoming lively in discussing the art of war when meeting with fellow kin, much like people from the Sun Never Sets Empire meeting to talk about the weather. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 138-63, Dragon Trader and the Countess. Chapter 138, Chapter 63, Dragon Trader and the Countess. But Alina prefers to talk about the art of ruling a domain and governing a country. For this, she once transformed into a human, entered the libraries of various human kingdoms to read materials and books, and even asked her parents to hire a human teacher specifically to teach her about the knowledge of managing a domain. When the female bronze dragon transitioned from the juvenile phase to a young dragon, the independent Alina didn't choose to find and conquer a domain in the sea like her parents. In her view, no matter how vast the territories in the sea were, they weren't the ideal kingdom she envisioned. The foolish fishmen and the arrogant evil Nagas also repulsed her, so she chose to come to the land, looking for lords in need of domain officials, wanting to prove her abilities, but most ended in failure. These lords didn't trust that a female could govern a domain well and bring much help. Alina, concealing her identity as a giant dragon, was perceived as nothing but an educated young female from an ordinary household, and she was not trusted at all. In fact, even if Alina revealed her bronze dragon identity, these lords would not accept her. Although bronze dragons are part of the good dragons, they aren't as popular as golden dragons. During Alina's various exploratory attempts, she encountered the young giant dragon lord, Red Copper Dragon Alfred, at a metal dragon gathering. Though Red Copper Dragon Alfred didn't understand Bronze Dragon Alina's ideas, nor could he comprehend her so-called art and wisdom of governing a domain, he was quickly smitten by the beauty of Bronze Dragon Alina and expressed his admiration and pursuit. He promised to entrust his own domain to Bronze Dragon Alina to govern and manage, which moved the Bronze Dragon to follow him to Alfred's domain. Little did she know that Red Copper Dragon Alfred had long been bought off by human gold coins, ignoring the residents living in his domain, allowing them to be captured and sold, which he couldn't deny afterwards. Of course, the main reason was that these humans had signed a contract with Red Copper Dragon Alfred, promising to deliver the other half of the gold coins only after the transaction was completed. So when Bronze Dragon Alina saw what was happening before her, she was furious. Alina despised those creatures who only knew how to plunder and wander without producing anything, which is why she chose to apply to human kingdom lords. Now, seeing humans in Alfred's domain also disappearing, she was very angry, feeling cheated. How about this? If you share half of the gold coins you've received from these humans with me, I'll forgive your deception and seriously reconsider the possibility of being your mate. Bronze Dragon Alina took a deep breath, wanting to scrounge some benefits after failing to achieve her goal. Red Copper Dragon Alfred, who had a face of feigned innocence, immediately changed his expression, as treasures were a sacred domain for giant dragons. Even the previously slightly frivolous Alfred would not hand over his treasures easily. Even if the platinum dragon god Bahamut stood before him with such an unreasonable request, Alfred would contemplate whether giving the platinum dragon god Bahamut a slap was a viable course of action. However, still coveting the beauty before him, Red Copper Dragon Alfred attempted to retain her, exclaiming, "Alina, can't my willingness to entrust my most important domain as a giant dragon lord to you demonstrate my sincere intentions? Moreover, you can earn treasures through my domain. Once you become my mate, you will have a share of all the treasures in the domain." Pfft! Female Bronze Dragon Alina chuckled, "Your desolate domain where even flying birds don't wish to linger? Forget it, Alfred, save those words to deceive the next female dragon." Bronze Dragon Alina spread her wings, preparing to leave. Red Copper Dragon Alfred's eyes spun with incredible wisdom that suddenly flashed, and he shouted, "Wait, Alina, don't you want to govern a domain with humans? I have a way." "What way do you have? You're not trying to fool me again, are you?" The bronze dragon stopped, looking suspiciously at the confident male dragon. "I'm warning you, my parents are the great lords of the Sea of Phosphorescence. If you dare deceive me, be careful of getting a severe beating," the young female dragon bared her fangs and warned. Red Copper Dragon Alfred's eyes shifted from vertical to round pupils, spinning as he thumped his robust chest with his thick dragon claw, exclaiming, you know the Gogomola dragon group that rules the land of Golden, right? Their leader, Karon, is a good friend of mine. I heard from the adventurers I invited from the seaside that under the governance of the dragon group, the land of Golden is gradually thriving. There are not only many humans but also many other races becoming citizens of the giant dragon's domain. It's just the right place for you, Alina, to showcase your talents and prove your wisdom and artistry in governing lands. Although Red Copper Dragon Alfred had only met the Red Dragon once and exchanged a few words, he was far from being familiar, but at this moment, with the arrow on the bowstring, he couldn't lose face in front of the beautiful dragon due to his pride, so he promised the favored female dragon with confidence. Karon and the dragon group's domain far exceeds mine, but they lack management talents. You know that the beloveds that the five-color dragons can take in are mostly useless oddities. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 139-63, Dragon Trader and the Countess. Chapter 139, Chapter 63, Dragon Trader and the Countess. With Alina's ability and my connection with Karon, you will surely be treated well when you go there. Perhaps Karon will even let you manage a vast territory because of your knowledge. And the dragon group is recruiting talents to manage their territory. Isn't your knowledge superior to those mundane species? The red copper dragon used the pinnacle of his eloquence to persuade this female bronze dragon, employing temptation alongside provocation naturally. Alfred planned to cling to this female dragon no matter what means he had to use. This was also the courtship secret taught to him by other elder red copper dragons, as even the most proud and fierce female dragons feared the insistent pursuit of a male dragon. Karon Gogomola, and the dragon group he rules, I know. I heard that under the leadership of this red dragon, the dragon group burned the imperial capital of the Gata Empire to white ash. The majestic imperial palace was forever sunk into the underground magma by the dragon group, and countless elite imperial soldiers were slaughtered. Bronze Dragon Alina also learned about this from her elders, even though giant dragons are extremely proud and self-sufficient, preferring to stay in their nests secluded. But among metal dragons, except for the two slightly odd species red copper dragons and brass dragons, the other three metal dragons, golden dragons, silver dragons, and bronze dragons, are more concerned about the trends of human civilization. Especially these three giant dragons are keen to use transformation skill to blend into human society. In certain human realms of the southern continent, there are examples of golden dragons and silver dragons serving as counts and dukes of human kingdoms. Are you asking me to submit to those evil dragons, to help those foolish, proud, chaotic five-color dragons? You, red copper dragon Alfred, are a kind-hearted metal dragon, and you would associate with those evil dragons. Female bronze dragon Alina, like all bronze dragons, was inherently kind. Some kind bronze dragons even reached levels comparable to the holy mothers among silver dragons. They would not harm even intelligent animals, except for the Shawa fishman species that all bronze dragons like to eat. However, because these bronze dragons do not recognize Shawa fishmen as an intelligent species, it does not count as violating the kind nature of bronze dragons. Alina therefore had no fondness for five-color dragons, especially loathing the Gogomola dragon group that once launched mass slaughter in the imperial capital of the Gata Empire. If she didn't know she couldn't defeat the dragon group, and if other known metal dragons weren't too lazy to move, she would have already gathered a group of metal dragons to trouble Karon and his dragons. TCH, Red Copper Dragon Alfred clearly had his subjective judgment, surprisingly laughing at his female divine dragon, Alina. Don't let your stereotypes cloud your brilliant mind. If you were captured by humans, your parents would not hesitate to destroy the entire Gata Empire to wash away the disgrace. Besides, Karon and his dragon group are unlike other five-color dragons, who are foolish, proud, chaotic, and evil. You can derive some truths and conclusions from the words of those human adventurers. If you don't believe me, you can use your own eyes to see, and your own ears to listen. I wouldn't want the female dragon I fancy to be an arrogant fool. Red Copper Dragon Alfred raised his head high with pride, seemingly scorning the short-sightedness of the female dragon before him. This was also the secret technique taught to Alfred by elder Red Copper Dragons. One should not always be compliant toward female dragons, occasionally it's necessary to challenge their excessively proud minds and self-important nature. Of course, this should be done only with those truly intelligent female dragons. Those brainless and egotistical female dragons might become angrier because of such challenging words, unlike intelligent female dragons who would reflect on their issues. As expected, the female bronze dragon Alina showed a hesitant expression on her face, intrigued by Alfred's words, curious about the dragon group ruling the faraway land of Golden, curious whether the Red Copper Dragon's words were true, and curious about what charm the opposing side possessed that made a metal dragon speak for 5 color dragons. As for the matter of robbers abducting humans and selling them to the dragon group territory, these small dealings are considered normal operations in the eyes of giant dragons, not associated with evil. When metal dragons build their territories, they also purchase many slaves from human kingdoms, among which golden dragons buy the most. All right, I admit I am somewhat convinced by your words, Alfred. The female bronze dragon Alina also raised her head high, disliking being seen as an arrogant and short-sighted giant dragon. I intend to go to the distant land of Golden to see whether what you said is true. Bronze dragon Alina glanced at Red Copper Dragon with joyful eyes, her vertical pupils revealing lively cunning, and in a clear voice said, I wonder if I am fortunate enough to invite this Red Copper Dragon gentleman with good relations with the Gogomola Dragon group to accompany me. After speaking, before Red Copper Dragon Alfred could react, the young yet sufficiently wise female dragon took flight, heading towards the distance. Red Copper Dragon Alfred's mind was clouded by the female dragon's words, for a moment forgetting the secret taught by elder Red Copper Dragons that it's essential to maintain one's relative high stature to earn long-term admiration and submission from female giant dragons. He quickly spread his wings to follow the female dragon ahead, shouting, You've flown in the wrong direction, Alina, you should go that way, and let me tell you, when encountering Karon and the dragon group, that Red Dragon praised my graceful and powerful figure. My relationship with him is extraordinary. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 140-63, Dragon Trader and the Countess. Chapter 140, Chapter 63, Dragon Trader and the Countess. Recruiting pioneering emigrants. Every emigrant registered to go to the land of Golden will be granted the status of free people. Food, drink, and accommodation are all provided, and travel expenses are completely free. Emigrants going to the land of Golden can freely cultivate land, and the land they develop will be owned by them. People going to the land of Golden will also receive settling-in allowances and be properly accommodated. Those with special skills will receive some copper coins as a reward. If an entire family emigrates together, they will also receive a reward in copper coins. The conditions are favorable, do not miss out. The soldiers on the street, holding notices in hand, loudly promote and recruit the so-called pioneering emigrants while patrolling the streets of the slums. In the past, the slums were only frequented by impoverished people with exposed bodies and numb expressions, and beggars in ragged clothing with foul smells. Now, they have become exceptionally lively, not only with rarely seen patrol guards but also with many elite mercenary corps and business managers leading their subordinates hustling back and forth in the slums. Enticed by food, the people in the slums began to show some interest in their publicity. The crowd began to stir, and even those with numb expressions displayed a hint of expectation on their faces. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, groups of prisoners were being escorted by soldiers to docks outside the city and loaded onto large ships. These soldiers also meticulously patrolled the streets they passed, checking for any incidents of stealing or cheating. These soldiers were eager to capture those disrupting order, as each captured person meant shiny copper coins. Now, the security in all cities within this domain is unprecedentedly good. The petty thefts that used to happen on the streets have vanished because anyone caught is removed from the city, and even the black gangs hidden in sewers and corners of the city have been completely wiped out. This prompted the residents of the towns to clap their hands in delight, as the security issues that were once tough to eradicate disappeared under the Lord's severe crackdown, leading the people living in the domain to continually praise the Lord. However, these changes do not affect the majestic castle that stands high above, built on the mountain and located on a high slope. This castle, belonging to Duke Istvan's clan, seems to be the abode of a noble spirit overlooking the mortal realm, with its tall and thick walls blocking both praise and slander from the mortal world. It governs the mortals but is segregated from the world of ordinary people. The tall castle, even during the day, requires countless candles and splendid lamps to be lit to keep the castle bright. The candles and lamp oil consumed by the castle each day would suffice for an ordinary family's use for a year. Intricately woven, wide, and long carpets are laid across every corridor of the castle's halls. Each carpet, crafted with exquisite patterns, could consume a typical family's savings for 10 years. The complex and beautiful murals on the castle's high vaults, the exquisite screens placed inside the castle, the furniture made of precious wood, and the silverware used for dining on the table, all these are valuables that people outside the castle can't imagine possessing. In one of the banquet halls of this castle, only 3 people sat at a wide dining table made of precious wood. Among them, an old man with white hair, sitting with his back to numerous famous oil paintings, occupied the main seat. Despite his white hair, his gaze was sharp and spirited. This was the patriarch of the Istvan clan and the ruler of this domain, Duke Istvan. When the Gata Empire split, the self-owned domains originally belonging to the Emperor of the Imperial were split and annexed by various noble families. As a high-tier noble of the Gata Empire, Duke Istvan also received a wealthy domain. Now, the power of the Istvan clan is even more prominent, ranking among the top forces within the various kingdoms and duchies of the northern lands. Sitting to Duke Istvan's right was a young female, with captivating looks, her eyes like 2 pools of clear water, yet her gaze revealed a lion-like aggressiveness. Her full bosom was tightly bound in fitted soft armor, clearly indicating an extremely ambitious woman. This was Countess Batory, Duke Istvan's eldest daughter, a controversial countess, who has admired valor since childhood, more competitive than the men of her clan, and possessing greater prowess. At a young age, she has already crossed into the high-tier extraordinary domain, touching the edge of the saint tier. Count Karon, who had admired Batory's character and beauty since childhood and was on good terms with the Istvan clan, chose to propose to Duke Istvan's eldest daughter after becoming the earl in charge of his family. With a mind for a strong alliance, Duke Istvan agreed to Count Karon's request, and the 2 families formally united in marriage. But the day after marrying Count Karon, who was on good terms with the Istvan clan, Batory persuaded Count Karon to go hunting in the mountains with her, resulting in an accident during the hunt. Batory and Count Karon's group lost themselves in the desolate mountains. When others finally found the group's trail, everyone except Batory was already dead. The soldiers discovered wounds from beasts' claws and fangs on the bodies of Count Karon and his retinue. Only Batory had escaped the beast's rear attack thanks to the soft armor she was wearing. Although the soldiers were puzzled as to how a beast could quietly approach and successfully ambush a group led by a high-tier extraordinary warrior, knowing that both the Count and his retinue were also powerful warriors with keen instincts. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 141-63, Dragon Trader and the Countess. Chapter 141, Chapter 63, Dragon Trader and the Countess. Although these soldiers dared not express their doubts openly, the rumors spread anyway. Especially after Count Karon's brother, the only remaining heir of the noble family, died of a sudden illness shortly thereafter, rumors filled Count Karon's territory. Even the loyal warrior legion openly accused Batory of having killed the 2 consecutive counts to seize the position. But after the strange deaths of the warrior leaders who accused Batory, the rumors within the territory gradually came under control, limited only to the dark corners even if there were still some secret slanders. Since then, Batory inherited the title of Count Karon, becoming one of the rare countesses. Sitting opposite this controversial countess was a squinting mage adorned in a luxurious magic robe. Hughes, perhaps it should be Hughes Istvan. After all, to train a high-tier mage, an ordinary nobility could not afford the expenses of a mage. Without money, hoping to learn magic is no different from wishing that a giant dragon would give you its treasures. The three nobles were gracefully having dinner. Although the servants were sent away, thanks to their noble upbringing, the three maintained a silent yet relaxed atmosphere while dining. After a long time, after spitting out the last sip of mouthwash, the elderly duke, with white at his temples, finally spoke, seemingly pondering his words deeply. Hughes, has your teacher, Grand Mage Lapuz, made his final choice? Though Hughes was accustomed to the carefree posture of a high-tier mage, he maintained respect and deference before his father, who held familial authority. Hughes nodded slightly, showing respect for his father's question, then began to reply, the teacher has not made a final choice. However, he hinted for our mages to gradually focus on the dragon group. As someone who can foresee some destinies, what the teacher does surely has its reasons. Duke Istvan nodded slightly, pondered for a moment, then said, even so, our family's resources cannot be overly inclined towards those giant dragons. The reason the nobility can endure longer than those imperial dynasties is because we never put fragile eggs in one basket. We learn from those cunning rabbits by digging everywhere to ensure the family's retreat and stability. Mage Hughes squinted, nodded in agreement with the Duke's words, but then said, with due respect, Father, offering warmth in the heavy snow is far more impressive than presenting flowers after success. The things that those giant dragons lack right now aren't considered important resources by our family. The Duke shook his head, managing a large family sometimes isn't at my whim. Even as the family head and lord of the territory, there are many interests to balance. The newly acquired lands also need maintenance and development. The resources and support currently given to you are already the maximum I can mobilize within my capacity. All right, Father, in that case, I will head to the land of Golden, the dragon's territory, as a mage, not as a representative member of the Istvan clan to contact the dragon group. Also, with boldness, dear Father and Duke, I think it's time to involve my brother in the family affairs. Maybe the young ones could bring some fresh ideas and vitality to this thoroughly aged family. Mage Hughes maintained a respectful attitude, but his words clearly conveyed his dissatisfaction. I'm not yet decrepit, possessing sufficient wisdom and vigor, I can still lead the family. Duke Istvan was angered by the mage's jocular words, threw down the silk handkerchief used to wipe his mouth, stood up, and walked away angrily. Countess Batory, who quietly watched the verbal clash between the father and son while slowly sipping sweet cream mushroom soup, calmly picked up a silk handkerchief to wipe her sensual and soft lips after the furious old duke left. These old folks are always trapped by their stubbornness and experiences, believing their own experiences to be the most reliable and daring not attempt new ideas and paths. The boldness and courage in youth have long worn down with time. Hughes, don't overly concern yourself with that old man's thoughts. The young, beautiful, and voluptuous Countess Batory smiled warmly at her brother. Shh, keep your voice down, Father's strength hasn't diminished much. Mage Hughes raised his forefinger to his lips, a smile appearing on his usually indifferent face. However, you've had contact with those giant dragons. Are they truly as worthy of our investment as you claim? The young countess asked, her eyes bright as clear waters, resembling a lioness on the prairie scrutinizing its prey before a hunt, an air of aggression emanating from Countess Batory's gaze. Even Mage Hughes, who grew up with her, felt the intimidating aura from his eldest sister. The mage unconsciously averted his eyes slightly before nodding. Success is often fleeting in life, while failure dominates the theme. But how one faces failure can differentiate everyone. Some are crushed by failure, sinking into it, while others continuously get up and move forward, a trait sure to lead to success barring death. In my view, Karon, the red dragon with formidable power, belongs to such beings. Countess Batory's bright, aggressive gaze quietly retracted, then she nodded, "I trust your judgment, Hughes. You were always the smartest child in the family. Maybe I should personally visit the land of Golden, to meet those giant dragons." Mage Hughes was startled, knowing his sister's character. "Bathory, do you intend to?" The young countess interrupted the mage. She stood up, leaving behind her clear, crisp laughter. "Hughes, ruling a tiny, narrow earl's domain has grown tiresome for me. I wish to challenge a grander stage, my life is far too calm." Mage Hughes sighed, shaking his head. "Bathory, you trust my intellect, yet I somewhat fear your madness and courage." Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 142-64, Nora and the Bronze Dragon's Wonderful Journey. Chapter 142, Chapter 64, Nora and the Bronze Dragon's Wonderful Journey. Life at sea is not as exciting and thrilling as most minstrels describe in their stories. On the designated safe route, most of the life on the ship is tedious. Nora, along with her grandmother and fellow villagers, had been assigned to the same large ship, with other captives from scattered villages across the wasteland. Perhaps because of her young age, obedient demeanor, and pleasant appearance, Nora often proactively helped other robbers mend their torn clothes, so unlike others who were abducted, she was allowed out of the cabin for half a day every 10 days. It is important to note that the voyage lasted for several months. If these people were kept long-term in crowded small cabins without sanitary conditions, they would fall ill not only due to psychological issues but also were extremely susceptible to epidemics. To minimize losses and improve the survival rate of abducted slaves, these robber mercenary corps would regularly bring batches of slaves onto the deck, clean the cabins, and isolate the sick ones, sometimes even casting them into the sea if they were severely ill. Nora was allowed to go out every afternoon for a breath of fresh air, at which time she wandered around the deck with village chief Uncle Fain. Village chief Uncle Fain, due to his special status, also received some privileges from the robber mercenaries. Though he couldn't escape the fate of being sold as a slave, at least he could communicate with the mercenary pirates who respected power, making him the most esteemed among the slaves. "Hey, pass me 2 cups of rum, one a little less, one filled up," village chief Fain called to a robber mercenary carrying a barrel of rum. During long voyages, fresh water is difficult to store, often spoiling due to various reasons, such as insects, rats, or the corrosive sea weather, thus cheap rum was almost every sailing ship's backup water resource. So, even if Nora found the taste of rum unpalatable, she still subconsciously licked her lips upon hearing village chief Fain's words, her dry lips already showing dead skin, and she had developed a habit and affection for drinking rum during these months on the ship. The pirate holding the barrel glanced at them, cheerfully opened the barrel, took down 2 large cups hanging from his back, filled them full, then handed them to village chief Fain and the eagerly looking little girl Nora. The bearded mercenary laughed, saying, "Drink as much as you like, refill yourself if you want, we are near the Golden Coast, and the captain has ordered free rum supplies." The little girl Nora cautiously held the oversized cup with her small hands, sipped a bit and then smiled gratefully at the bearded mercenary. "Thank you, Uncle Beard." "Ha ha ha," the bearded mercenary hugged the hefty barrel, waved his other hand, and walked away. Village chief Uncle Beard said, "We're near the Golden Coast, is it really as beautiful as they say? Won't the evil dragon just swallow us whole? Also, can grandmother and I have our own new house, where beasts and monsters dare not disturb us?" The little girl Nora looked at village chief Uncle, who was the strongest and most knowledgeable in her eyes, eagerly asking. Initially, Nora felt an attraction towards the vast and boundless the sea. The sea horizon blanketed with a clear blue, bird flights, whale calls made Nora, who grew up inland in the wasteland, amazed, but the sea was always the same, unchanging for eons, so Nora felt increasingly bored during the prolonged voyage. Only occasionally watching the rum-drunk mercenaries go crazy would her monotonous spirit stir. Gulp, village chief Fain took a large sip of the strangely flavored rum, wiped his ruggedly neglected, particularly scruffy face, then spoke, "Little Nora, never hold overly high expectations for something unknown, as the disappointment may surpass your imagination." Village Chief Fain looked toward the distant sea where weird heads occasionally emerged, sighed, and used his rough hands to affectionately rub Nora's head. "Nora, never believe everything others say, always keep a doubt in their words. You must learn to observe with your own eyes and listen with your own ears. Sometimes even your own eyes and ears will deceive you, and then you must trust your intuition and thoughts." The little girl Nora hummed through her delicate nose and nodded. Though she didn't understand Village Chief Uncle's words, she remembered them and might forget someday, forgetting who told her. But when faced with certain lessons someday, similar insights might arise in her heart, becoming her knowledge and experience, passed on to the next generation. However, before Nora's little mind processed, other mercenary robbers on the deck let out excited shouts. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 143-64, Nora and the Bronze Dragon's Marvelous Journey, Part 2. Chapter 143, Chapter 64, Nora and the Bronze Dragon's Marvelous Journey, Part 2. The bearded mercenary holding a barrel of wine threw it into the sea, drew his steel fork from his waist, and shouted, "Business is here, brothers, there are Shawa fishmen nearby, grab your weapons and kill these fools. Woohoo, let me see where those cute fishman heads are. Everyone move aside, let me through, I used to be a fisherman, these Shawa fishmen are just fish to me, my fish spear can't wait any longer." The previously bored mercenaries suddenly became energized, each grabbing their weapons and crowding to the edge of the deck, eyes gleaming as they looked at the distant monstrous heads emerging on the sea's surface. The village chief, Fain, and the little girl, Nora, were squeezed to the back, surrounded by those pirates who didn't manage to push to the front. Fain grabbed a pirate, curiously asking, "Your fleets that often sail the seas should have good relationships with those sea monster tribes. Why do you all want to hunt these Shawa fishmen instead? Aren't you afraid they'll cause trouble for your fleets?" In fact, what Fain said aligns with the methods of most seafaring fleets. The sea is the main turf of these monsters, and although individually the Shawa fishmen aren't very strong in this world, elite human soldiers can handle several at once. But there are countless Shawa fishmen living in the vast and boundless sea, which is far more expansive than the land, too many to even count. Plus, these monsters often dwell in groups, and although their tribes may have conflicts, they always unite against enemies. Similar to metal dragons, if you defeat a younger one, an older one shows up, and if you manage to defeat the older ones, possibly two ancient dragons might come after you. If these two ancient dragons have connections and lots of gold coins, well, congratulations, you might be lucky enough to meet the legendary ancient Golden Dragon Council and the Silver Dragon Holy Knight Order. As for the Shawa fishmen, if you defeat one group, another will take over their territory and likely remain hostile towards you. As long as you don't eradicate the Shawa fishmen from the sea, they will always be your enemies and opponents, as relentless and troublesome as ever. Unless you can intimidate these sea demons with absolute power and fearsome means, they will at least show superficial submission to you and not oppose you openly. Hehe, the tattoo-covered mercenary chuckled, nonchalantly saying, "These foolish and ignorant fishmen previously offended the Lord of the Land of Golden, who leads the Dragon Group. The Dragon Group has issued a tribal extermination order against the Shawa fishmen. Each fishman head can be exchanged for 20 coppers at Golden Harbor Town's security office, and each live Shawa fishman can fetch 50 coppers. Although the individual price isn't high, these foolish creatures are countless in the sea." The mercenary proudly patted his chest, then said, "Every fleet now sees these Shawa fishmen as shiny gold coins, they are the only fun and activity we have at sea. Thanks to these fishmen, I've saved a sum of money, enough to keep those women with their legs wide open for a full month. Damn it, you confiscated my weapons. Can you give them back to me?" Fain's Adam's apple moved involuntarily, thinking he might save up some funds for himself before reaching the giant dragon territory. Humph, didn't you see I couldn't even squeeze past? The tattoo-covered mercenary rolled his eyes, snorted, and showcased his bulging muscles. Red Copper Dragon Alfred and Bronze Dragon Alina followed the direction once pointed out by Karon, flying north along the coast from Alfred's territory. They soared over mountains and noticed dangerous beasts in the endless mountain range eyeing them, like the thorn-tailed mountain cat, which hunts dragons. These legendary creatures remain elusive when they don't wish to be spotted by dragons, but this particular thorn-tailed mountain cat seemed unfazed by the two young giant dragons, blatantly trailing behind them the entire way. The two young giant dragons dared not provoke such a peculiar legendary creature, which is known to harbor grudges. Although a dragon that's airborne is safe from even the mightiest thorn-tailed mountain cat, no dragon wants to be targeted by such an extraordinary predator. After shaking off the thorn-tailed mountain cat, the two bronze giant dragons became more cautious, frequently following the ocean routes of passing fleets. However, during one rest stop, the two young giant dragons encountered a group of storm giants. Fortunately, while storm giants, like other giants, are descendants and creations of titans, they don't share the same blood feuds and hostilities with dragons. Titans follow their own, and giants follow theirs. Moreover, both young giant dragons belong to the metal dragon species, causing these storm giants to heed the traditions of the metal dragons. So, even when Red Copper Dragon Alfred and Bronze Dragon Alina requested to rest overnight in the storm giants' territory, the storm giants agreed. Furthermore, the storm giants warmly invited the two young giant dragons to share dinner, an invitation the young giant dragons readily accepted, driven by the curiosity of the bronze dragon, who is naturally inclined to learn about other intelligent beings. Even Red Copper Dragon Alfred, a chatterbox, enjoys conversations. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 144-64, Nora and the Bronze Dragon's Marvelous Journey, Part 3. Chapter 144, Chapter 64, Nora and the Bronze Dragon's Marvelous Journey, Part 3. Only the brass dragon among the metal dragons has a kind of wicked interest. Brass dragons prefer to hear others tell stories, and these brass dragons often, driven by loneliness and solitude, take adventurers and minstrels to tell stories for them. If the story does not satisfy the brass dragon, then the captured adventurers and minstrels have to keep narrating, unable to leave. Legend has it that there was a terribly unlucky minstrel seized by an eccentric brass dragon who was unable to satisfy the dragon despite racking his brains, forced to stay in the brass dragon's lair for 1001 days. It's said that the antagonist in the stories of 1001 Nights spread among mortals was written based on this eccentric brass dragon. Ah, you're talking about those 5-color dragons that passed through the territory not long ago. The leader of the storm giants sat cross-legged on the ground, his upper body still able to parallelly address the two young giant dragons squatting. In the eyes of the storm giants, even if several decades have passed, it roughly counts as not long ago, so the two young giant dragons did not feel surprised. That dragon group is quite interesting, with the leader even conversing with me. He eagerly invited me to settle in his territory, saying there's a more beautiful and fertile sea area than here waiting for us. If I weren't too lazy to move, perhaps I'd have led the tribe to accompany those 5-color dragons. The stormy tones of the storm giant were no less than those of the giant dragons, while he flipped and roasted a gigantic sea fish, sizzling grease dripping, raising a charred fragrance. A nearby young storm giant licked his lips, eager to move. These meats were delicious snacks for the storm giants. Bronze Dragon Alina's eyes sparked with curiosity. Though storm giants differ from titans in their attitudes towards giant dragons, they are not exactly friendly towards 5-color dragons, yet having the idea of keeping company with them surprised her greatly. Thus, the young female dragon asked the elderly giant leader, "What makes that dragon group special enough to earn your favor? With your power and tribe, you should easily defeat those young dragons and occupy their territories." The elderly storm giant shook his head. His great voice was like thunder before a storm. Among that dragon group, although the red dragon as leader is strongest, the other giant dragons don't fear it, but sincerely submit, which proves this red dragon is a successful leader. As for defeating those dragons, young bronze dragon, don't be defined by justice and kindness written on parchment and spoken by hypocrites. Surviving and growing in this world requires not only one's own strength but sometimes the help of others. That's the life wisdom from the years of this old maid. Bronze Dragon Alina nodded. Bronze dragons are generally more convinced by words from powerful predecessors, benefited from their upbringing of good life practice. The reason those 5-color dragons lack such habits could be attributed somewhat to their race's upbringing. Many evil dragons abandoned from young don't even know of the existence of the heaven-piercing halberd, otherwise, every evil dragon would pride in crafting such weaponry. The next day, the 2 young giant dragons resumed their journey, encountering many dangerous creatures along the way as well as some friendly magical beings, most leaving impressions of the once past dragon group. For instance, a group of woodland elves held hostile words for the 2 young giant dragons because the previous dragon group attempted to uproot their tree of life planted in the forest. Of course, had he not noticed the faint holy sanctuary aura surrounding the forest elf leader, even red copper dragon Alfred thought of uprooting that nascent tree of life. Greed drives all giant dragons, even metal dragons are not better than 5-color dragons. The tree of life benefits living things nearby immensely. Long exposure to the aura of the Tree of Life grants giant dragons certain life growth and strengthening, not to mention mature life tree leaves being a useful magical material, its embedded life aura sometimes serves as healing magic potions. Possessing a Tree of Life equals hugging a small gold mine. After months of long flights, the 2 young giant dragons barely sensed the intense dragon aura over an extensive area ahead. Giant dragons mark territory not as common beasts do with scent from urine but through prolonged contact between their own aura and the world's, leaving a unique dragon scent naturally. Thus, despite being far apart, the 2 young giant dragons could still perceive the broad lands ahead populated by sufficiently active giant dragons. Look, Alina, over there are jackal wolf men cultivating land just like humans, with others patrolling territories. Unbelievable, these ignorant and lazy monsters appear so orderly, didn't I tell you right? Red Copper Dragon Alfred boasted proudly. Whenever Karon territory showed excellent performance, it seemed to give him more face. It is somewhat unbelievable for dragons. Bronze Dragon Alina was never impressed by these chaotic, ignorant monsters in her heart. She viewed them as disorderly elements, extremely hard to manage. Source: webnovel.com. Updated by novlove.com. Chapter 145-64, Nora and the Bronze Dragon's Curious Journey, Part 4. Chapter 145, Chapter 64, Nora and the Bronze Dragon's Curious Journey, Part 4. Even when using the power of the giant dragon to suppress these monsters, they won't take it seriously, since nature is hard to change. Yet within the Gogomola dragon group territory, they became part of the order, making her somewhat admire the entire dragon group. Let's go down and take a look. There are some jackal wolfmen battling forest giants there. That jackal wolfman leader seems to be quite a formidable guy, perhaps he knows a lot. The bronze dragon Alina signaled red copper dragon Alfred to follow her. Whoosh! The jackal wolfman leader Yugu pulled out his recently upgraded shotgun from the body of the fallen giant demon, the sharp glint of its tip appearing even more dangerous when stained with blood. He was very satisfied with this weapon. It was lighter than the previous 3-headed flail and allowed for faster killing. He could use this long spear to kill in the giant demon tribe for a day and night without feeling fatigued. Yugu scanned the jungle, confirming no giant demons had come to the territory to cause trouble or poach. He nodded with satisfaction and was about to speak in the jackal wolfman language but restrained himself, opting instead to give orders to his warriors in the common language. Drag these stinking forest giants back, consider it a gift from the jackal wolfmen to the goblin tribe. As we have just become the beloved of the giant dragon, we should foster good relations with other beloveds. These stinking forest giants might not even be liked by those goblins, the hesitant jackal wolfman mage behind him remarked. The bodies of these giant demons were covered in colorful moss, emitting a stench comparable to some swamps that have been accumulating for countless years in the forest. Perhaps only the scavenging vultures on the plains could stomach the giant demons' corpses. No worries, ask those in the goblin tribe first. If even the goblin tribe doesn't want them, drag these giant demons' bodies to the dragon group's orchard. Lady Antagena has been paying close attention to the orchard recently. These giant demons' bodies could serve as fertilizer for the fruit trees Lady Antagena is cultivating. The jackal wolfman Yugu replied nonchalantly. The goblin tribe has virtually become the garbage disposal for the dragon group's beloved, with the saying if you don't eat it, give it to the dog now being replaced by if you don't eat it, give it to the goblin. Whoosh, a strong wind roared overhead, even bending the thick branches that had grown for countless years. Two young giant dragons approached from the distant sky, hovering midair in front of the jackal wolfman. The jackal wolfman Yugu's gaze focused, his killing intent reignited. He signaled his spellcaster subordinates to prepare to release the message-carrying flying birds and ravens, while gripping his weapon tightly and actively greeting the young giant dragons in the sky. Respected true dragons from afar, halt your steps. Ahead lies the dragon group's territory. Entering hastily would be considered an act of invasion by the dragon group. The jackal wolfman Yugu said in a low voice, thinking perhaps today was the day to demonstrate his loyalty to the red dragon. As for the two young giant dragons before him, with his strength, he could at least drag them until the dragon group arrives for reinforcements. As long as he avoided direct confrontation, he was more agile in the forest than these two dragons. Red Copper Dragon Alfred and Bronze Dragon Alina exchanged glances, both wondering why the Jackal Wolfman was unafraid of them. Moreover, from the Jackal Wolfman's actions, it seemed he even intended to engage with the two young giant dragons. However, the two dragons were metal dragons, not five-color dragons that would rashly engage in conflict at the slightest disagreement. So, Red Copper Dragon Alfred and Bronze Dragon Alina landed on the ground, indicating they had no intention of invading the territory. Jackal Wolfman, I appreciate your courage. However, Alina and I do not intend to offend the dragon group's territory. We are here to find my friend, Karon Gogomola. He will welcome our arrival. Red Copper Dragon Alfred explained to the Jackal Wolfman before him. Dragons always had a special appreciation for loyal and brave beloveds, and the Red Copper Dragon and Bronze Dragon were no exceptions. Rarely did they lower their noble stance towards such despised creatures. The Jackal Wolfman Yugu nodded but did not relax. Instead, he remarked neither humbly nor arrogantly, I am just a newly acquired minion under my Lord Karon, unaware of such matters. I will send the message via flying bird to other beloveds, so they may report to the giant dragon lords. Perhaps the two esteemed true dragons might visit Golden Harbor Town, register your purpose at the Civil Affairs Office there. Civil servant Lady Fafnir has the authority to escort the two esteemed giant dragons to the dragon nest to meet my lord. Bronze Dragon Alina and Red Copper Dragon Alfred exchanged another glance, nodded, and then told the Jackal Wolfman Yugu, all right, we won't trouble you. Besides, we'd like to see what the territory managed by the dragon group looks like. Only then did the Jackal Wolfman Yugu bow in respect, pointing towards the coast, fly straight from here about 300 miles, and you will see Golden Harbor Town, esteemed true dragons. Whoosh, the two young giant dragons flapped their wings and flew towards the distance. Source, webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 146-65, Chosen Laborer. Chapter 146, Chapter 65, Chosen Laborer. The present Golden Harbor town has transformed into a small city. After last time's impact and destruction by the Shawa Fishman tribe, many buildings have been torn down and rebuilt. The newly appointed civil servant, Giant Demon Fafnir, overseeing all town matters, follows the principle of bigger is better from the giant dragon, and has replanned and rebuilt the town. After the Fishman tribe's previous attack, the entire town's planning and reconstruction have shifted inland to ensure there is enough time and distance to handle sudden situations arising from the sea. The docks and coast, which were originally near the town, now belong to areas outside the city and are not included in the small city's plan, but still fall within the defensive system of the small city. The newly recruited Jackal Wolfman Mage and Dogman Mage, led by several dragon descendants, have become the rotating guard team at the harbor, with Golden Harbor Town currently being the focal area of the Dragon Group territory, receiving a shift in power. 200 Dogman warriors are responsible for patrolling the harbor's safety and order as the daily security team. Additionally, the Dragon Group ensures that one of the 2 blue dragons comes here daily to inspect. The sea and sky are the domain of blue dragons, controlling the storm and tides. Blue dragons are the best choice for guarding the sea area. With the continuous influx of population and expansion, today's town has turned into a city covering an area of about 5 square kilometers, surrounded by wooden walls 16 meters high with a total circumference of about 18,000 meters. Thankfully, the city is located at the edge of a lush forest where the abundant wood serves as an inexhaustible resource, ensuring no problem with basic building materials for the city. With merchants and adventurers coming and going, plus the resident population, not counting the dragons beloved, the population of other various races here is nearly 20,000. With the ever-increasing number of active populations, the construction of the small city cannot be three-dimensional like modern civilizations and can only maintain the city's layout by expanding the area. Furthermore, by Red Dragon's instruction, to prevent a chain reaction of fires in predominantly wooden buildings in the city, the new buildings maintain a certain safe distance from each other. 4 wide streets, large enough for 16 massive earth dragon beasts to pass through simultaneously, crisscross in a cross shape directly to the 4 major gates of the small city, and 16 smaller alleys connect to each other under the linkage of these 4 streets. 72 small alleys connect with other nearby streets, with 92 major streets and small alleys forming a complete and regular urban traffic network. Despite the space utilization not being high in this two-dimensional layout city, a population of 20,000 still struggles to fill this city, which is vast even in planning, leaving it somewhat sparse as many areas are still under construction. But once the overall city framework is established, it only needs sufficient population to fill it in the future. Under the guidance of Giant Demon Fafnir, the city's basic operations have gradually set on track. Every tall city gate has a team of robust centaur warriors and dogman beloved guards patrolling to prevent events similar to the Fishman tribe's attack on the town from happening again. These warriors are clad in well-crafted leather armor, holding iron long spears and swords in their hands. Thanks to the diligent work of Dwarf Clagan and numerous apprentices, even these dogman warriors, known for their mediocre combat skills, have now armed themselves with iron swords and spears. Thus, under centaur warriors' leadership, these soldiers are adequate to fend off any beast and common monsters' attacks. And in the still under construction arrow towers above the city gates, some human soldiers are mixed among them. These are mercenaries and adventurers who have settled here and pledged allegiance to the Dragon Group, temporarily arranged by Giant Demon Fafnir in the City Defense Guard Army. A city's patrol security team cannot be all dragon descendants and beloved monsters. Adding some humans here can quickly gain the trust of city residents and visitors. Even if it's superficial trust, it can quickly settle people's hearts. So when Nora and other villagers abducted here disembarked from the large ship after initial panic, following those soldiers maintaining law and order towards the distant small city, they cautiously scanned their surroundings while exclaiming incessantly, "This is simply a big city." When I passed by those cities directly under the noble lord, none of those towns were as wide as this city. I thought we'd arrive in a wasteland, didn't expect it to look better than most towns. The people getting off the ships were amazed at the town before them, including not only villagers from the wilderness but also some recruited pioneer immigrants. This gave them a spark of confidence and expectation for the future, realizing at least they were not facing a barren land of monsters, but a fortified city for refuge. "Wow, these kobolds look so obedient, even more obedient than my pet dogs," a little boy with clear, naive eyes tugged at his parent's sleeve, pointing at the dogman guard escorting the slave convoy beside him. This remark drew an angry glare from a nearby dogman. "This human child is really annoying, Cobalt. I am a noble dragon's beloved." The dogman guard silently tightened his grip on his weapon, fearing it might accidentally slip out. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 147-65, Chosen Laborer, Part 2. Chapter 147, Chapter 65, Chosen Laborer, Part 2. His parents hurriedly covered the young boy's mouth, repeatedly apologizing to the Kobold guard. "We're sorry, Sir Kobold, the child doesn't know any better and speaks recklessly." "Humph," the Kobold guard haughtily turned his dog-like head, too lazy to bother with these foolish mortals. "Look, it's a giant dragon, a blue dragon," a child exclaimed in surprise, causing the whole group to stir in astonishment. Some villagers, not understanding the situation, were so frightened that they wet their pants, water dripping down their trousers. The Kobold guard had to patiently stay put, waiting for these ignorant mortals while secretly enjoying their shocked and frightened expressions. Blue Dragon Das leaped out of the deep blue sea, with a giant sea fish in its mouth, soaring gracefully into the sky. The taste preferences of the blue dragon are somewhat similar to those of the bronze dragon, both enjoying the taste of shellfishmen and sharks from the sea, while the various other types of sea fish also make a delicious snack for the blue dragon and bronze dragon. However, due to the giant dragon issuing a racial hunting order against the shellfishmen, it's difficult to find traces of these creatures in the nearby sea area. Those sharks have also sensed their natural enemies here and thus rarely roam this sea area. Additionally, Blue Dragon Das is tasked with the duty of patrolling the sea and cannot venture too far for food, so it casually selected a lucky red flag tuna as its snack. Plop! Blue Dragon Das landed at the city gate, dropping the enormous 5-meter-long sea fish on the ground and telling the gate guards, "You guys, come and carry this fish to the half-elf chef's restaurant and have him prepare me a delicious dish from it." Blue Dragon Das also spat out 2 pearls, one large and one small. These pearls were found while the blue dragon was out hunting in the sea, but it wasn't interested in them, so it gladly offered them as payment and a labor fee. "The large pearl goes to the half-elf chef, tell him it's enough payment for preparing my dinner for half a year. As for the small pearl, use it for drinks, as a reward for running errands for me." Blue Dragon Das's deliberately amplified voice boomed, as these giant dragons, under Karen's suggestion, constantly showed an attitude different from other chaotic monsters. Of course, the greedy nature of the giant dragons is not so generous, but under Karen's influence, the dragons in the group have come to view this behavior as an exchange of benefits, rather than a mere gift, hence Blue Dragon Das was not stingy. "Yes, Lord Das," the guards beamed as they saluted the blue dragon. After discussing among the human soldiers and kobold guards, they summoned their colleagues to fill in for them, then gleefully carried the giant fish towards the city. Blue Dragon Das sat leisurely at the city gate, scanning the new arrivals to the territory. It was forcing a kind expression, although the blue dragon's massive single horn and grim visage weren't quite effective in conveying kindness. Currently, these giant dragons viewed the newcomers to the territory as if they were looking at glittering gold coins. Each incoming group gave the dragons a sense of accumulated achievement, much like watching the coins in their nests increase one by one. The quality of this batch of people is decent. Although there are many elderly and children, their physical condition is good, they will surely become competent citizens of the dragon group territory. Blue Dragon Das was pleased with the spirit and physique of the humans before him. Though this group appeared somewhat emaciated due to a life of poverty, the humans who survive in the wilderness are extremely robust. But next time, we should let Rosanny act. Black dragons are the most cunning and insidious, and Rosanny would probably enjoy such deceitful performances. Blue Dragon Das scratched its horn, a habit it had already developed when thinking. "Hey, Uncle Fain, these giant dragons don't seem as fierce and brutal as the minstrels say, who love to snatch humans and children for snacks." In fact, they're more amiable than those tax collectors who come to the village, and this blue dragon looks so majestic, that bighorn looks really powerful. The little girl Nora, supporting her grandmother and following beside village chief Fain, whispered to her uncle about her observations. Perhaps it was good fortune above that favored them, but the bumpy journey didn't cause any accidents to their aged grandmother, so the little girl's mood was an uneasy mix of anticipation and cheerfulness. Fain, once the Night Order leader of the True God Church, though his strength had dwindled, his sharp eye had not. He clearly noticed the blue dragon passing by assumed a more dignified posture upon hearing Nora mention giant dragons. Its already robust chest and abdomen puffed out more and its head unconsciously lifted higher. Fain's lips curled into a slight smile, he patted Nora's small head, and then stepped through the towering city gates. The vast, towering city walls seemed to separate two worlds, and once inside the city, they felt the vibrant buzz of voices and bustling streets. Even streets as wide as those in the capital cities of noble territories gave people the impression of being crowded. This was the area near the port, the most frequented by flowing populations. Almost everyone currently moved within this urban area, giving these villagers from the desolate wilderness an extra sense of amazement. Source: webnovel.com, updated by novlove.com. Chapter 148-65, Chosen Worker _3. Chapter 148, Chapter 65, Chosen Worker _3. Even though they had already raised their expectations upon seeing the city, they didn't expect the life within to appear somewhat prosperous. Is this the distant land of monsters? The kingdom of dragons? Incredible, those bandits weren't lying to us after all. Many humans originally didn't believe that a kingdom belonging